my girlfriend and I, who were sitting across from him in the bar, we were being supportive, obviously. So my girlfriend says to him, like, just shoot your shot. Just take that shot. Just do it. Just like pull the fucking trigger on this. Like just absolutely shoot your shot, King. And DJ Mule replies, I don't know, like, what if something terrible happens? I feel like something awful might happen if I tried to do that. And as a result, he didn't ask out the bartender. Anyway,
Bartender didn't get his ear pierced.
well, you say
At Claire's.
they say you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, and this is definitely the case for DJ Mule, who didn't take the shot. So
I know, and I am in love with her, and that's unfortunate.
Mule's been telling us how he's in love with every woman that he's not every woman. He just we've been visiting Mule, and he's just like walking around town and seeing people being like, I'm in love with her, I'm in love with him, I'm in love with them. Hey everyone, it's Red Planet.
Red Planet, like the red of a love heart.
Oh, it's a special Valentine's Red Planet.
My heart beats red for the revolution.
Yes.
So Tim, what was the most base thing you did this week?
It's probably no biggie, but we were talking about there's a local charity that deals with a lot of like well, it's like a young kind of like queer charity that we're looking at. Well, we're organizing some kind of thing at work where we might have some kind of like collection box sort of like thing like that. Just setting up, well, talking with a friend about setting it up in our space, like a little donations kind of thing, which that's the first thing that pops to mind today, which is something I've never organized anything like that before, but I feel like, it's pretty simple and kind of like, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's a little one. Yeah,
that's
a
cute.
little one.
Nice.
But what about you, Mule? What have you been up to?
It's so... Oh, right, that's what I've been mainly doing. Yeah, okay. So the main thing I've been doing this week is having one-to-ones with committee members of the union. So, like, as I was saying last week, one of the sort of responsibilities of chair is to make sure that the committee is operating, as well as it can in terms of, like, relations with each other, inter-committee relations and understanding, and, if there's any conflict, try and deal with that. So I've been doing a lot of sort of like little interviews, really, that are just really informal about this kind of like necessary stuff. Questions like, do you feel comfortable, reporting a conflict to me, or would you feel comfortable reporting a conflict that you have with me to another member of the committee? These kinds of questions. What support can we offer you? Do you understand the relationship between the committee and the staff? All this kind of stuff. Most people get most of it, which is really good, because it shows that means we've got like a really like okay-ish, I guess, onboarding process. But it's been really good. It's been really, really good so far. I've not done so many, but I've got a bunch more planned this week, and it's just actually really nice to be able to sit down with every single member of the committee, one-on-one. Go for a pint, go for a curry, and go for a curry tomorrow with one of them, and just actually really make sure that everybody understands what GMTU's mission is, what we're doing, the things that we're doing in different branches all over the place, just kind of like pulling it all together for them and helping them understand how they fit into it all on the committee kind of thing, So yeah, that's been pretty interesting. It's been pretty good, pretty productive. So what about you?
Honestly, pretty uneventful week. I think that visiting you might have been my most based thing, because it's based to go see your friends and have a chill, cool time.
Very true.
No, it was really nice seeing Mule, everyone. I always have a good time seeing him. He's the sweetest. He's the best, and he showed us all around Manchester. We went for a lot of lovely long walks, and we looked at what was the site of the Peterloo massacre we looked at earlier today.
Yeah,
which was absolutely insane.
Peterloo, if people don't know, the anniversary of it's coming up quite soon, actually. and so it was in the 1800s. Can't tell you which exact year, but I think it's early 1800s. And basically all the workers and, just basically everybody in Manchester, not even really just the workers, like all the women, like even children, were just basically 80,000 people, which might have even been the entire population of Manchester at the time, just all converged on this place called Petersfields, where there's like a bunch of, like, it's where the town hall is. It's been there historically, probably for centuries. I'm pretty sure it might even be before the 1800s. And all like these other like old buildings and stuff like that. And there's like an old pub that's got like a proud sort of like, this pub is standing from the Peterloo massacre times and stuff like that. But I've spoiled the story in saying that, because it was a massacre actually. Like, what happened was so it was before police, I think. I might be wrong, but it was before police in the UK, I think. And what happened was the military sort of like, I don't know what you call them, hussars or whatever, with the sabers and that. They basically just charged all the workers, and they like killed 7 of them, and I think injured 700. So it was just like a horrible attack on workers' rights. And it was a general strike kind of deal as well. Literally everybody just decided one day, like, right, we're just not working, we're just not doing it today, and we're just going to demand change, basically. And so yeah, that was the Peterloo massacre. Yeah.
Yeah, and just stuff like that, learning about Mule's a great tour guide, and Neil has a lot to say about Manchester, and just lovely to see him, of course. So I think that's the most basic thing I did. Other than that, I've been
Appreciate
writing.
that.
I've been. It's based to see your friends. It's based to catch up with people.
I know, but you're bigging me up and all, and that's lovely. Really nice. Nice to hear that. I needed it today.
And seeing trams is based. I'm
Oh,
also like closing in on my next essay, The Mad and the Mentally Ill, which I mentioned a bit last week. And I think that, like, I don't know, it feels weird to call my writing the like based thing that I'm doing, but I'm putting a lot of energy into it right now. And I think that like the stuff I'm gonna have to say, about like mad liberation, I'm pretty happy with how it's going, and I'm excited about it. So
cool.
yeah. But yeah, that was the most basic thing I did. What about our audience? We don't have one this week.
We want to know what base things you've been doing. You can message us on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, or send an email to based@redplanetshow.com. Include your name and pronouns if you're cool with that, and we may shout it out in a later episode. But it is time for the news. Red Planeteers, today Sophie is going to tell you about one of the most unfortunate events of the early 21st century.
You've been Trump tragically survives assassination attempt at Pennsylvania rally is the headline. It's been
I didn't write that. That's not what I wrote.
Someone who wasn't a patriot.
Someone I don't know who,
far away from America.
I think a real big unpatriot person hacked the Red Planet news document.
I see.
And wrote that.
Yeah, so just yesterday, Trump was giving a rally speech in Pennsylvania and was shot. The bullet just grazed him. There were several shots, I believe. Someone was killed. The FBI have named Thomas Matthew Crooks, a registered Republican, age 20, from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, as the suspect, who is now dead. So presumably it's just a matter of like them identifying or getting like family identification. If that's, still unsure. The FBI is treating the incident as an assassination attempt. The suspect had his head blown off by the Secret Service. One bystander is killed. 2 others were critically injured. What are you going to say, Tim?
They have, since writing these notes, they have confirmed it, and they've interviewed his, classmates and all the kind of deranged stuff that they do after a shooting. Yeah, it's been a wild one reading about this and seeing the various responses to it, from the original, like the early posts where people like assuming that it was fake, which I mean it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, like it could be, that's very American, like totally.
Yeah, but showmanship is very American. Someone I saw earlier today was just like, Trump was in the WWF and knows how to hide a razor. Is a batshit thing to say, and also is true.
Exactly, that's where we're at. Yeah, there was a lot of speculation. Like there was someone like I'm not sure if they've confirmed it yet, but they were saying first they were saying he got shot in the ear, and then I think it was that it was a teleprompter got shot and some of the glass sliced his ear. That's why it didn't look like a bullet or something. But then I don't know if whatever. This is all stuff that was
Okay.
coming out very fast, so it's really
Well,
hard to kind of.
we were talking, weren't we, about the sort of way that people think about things like 9/11, right?
Mm.
When you know, people are like, oh, it just didn't look like a plane hitting some tall buildings, and it's like, well, that's because you've never seen that happen, and not many people know what that looks like, and it's kind of like that with, I guess, not many people see people get shot.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
there'll be okay. So I think there's a. You say that, but then there's what Conrad told us just before the show, that the worst possible take has been published, which is that Trump's approval rating is going to go up with black people because he's been shot.
I saw someone
wild.
post saying that the only candidate that can beat him now is someone that has actually been shot in the head. So French Montana, you're up. I saw 50 Cent posting about it, posting the with his song Many Men. It's like, but I think like fundamentally it doesn't matter. To the the conversation doesn't actually matter if it was like real or fake or anything like that. It's just like the way that it's going to be talked about is kind of the same. There's like there's a lot to be said about the way that these kind of attacks can embolden a candidate and their base, regardless of whether they're successful. And I saw a really great clip that a friend posted that was pretty poignant from Patrick Stewart in Fall of Eagles, talking about
the absolute goat, the best to ever do it.
We were talking about this film at breakfast, weren't we?
Okay, so we were at breakfast, and I just turned to my girlfriend and said, "Babe, would you please watch a 14-hour, incredibly dry BBC dramatization of the history of the decline of European noble houses?" And also Patrick Stewart plays Lenin. And she goes, "Why didn't you lead with that? Why didn't you say that first?"
Yeah. And it's great. Like they actually do have
it's such a good show.
Like the people that made it have a good grasp of what Lenin meant and what he was talking about.
Yeah, it rules.
Yeah. And so there's a section about him talking about, these like assassination attempts and why they're like kind of unhelpful to the cause. As funny as it could have been, and as good as how many of those, like you can imagine the grindcore band t-shirts of him getting just blasted, but like fundamentally unhelpful, but very funny.
Yeah, I do think that like a martyred Trump might have done a lot more to galvanize Republicans in general, because like they do currently have a God, you got me talking about electoral politics, and I have opinions about it. I just hate to share them because I hate using my energy on this, but I'm gonna just talk faster. Fucking hell. So Republicans are currently pigeonholed into supporting Trump because he's obviously the guy who's the most sway, and like anyone else who's not Trump while Trump still exists and could run is going to have a terrible time and lose the support of Trump's entire cult, right? Because it's a cult. And if Trump is there and can run, right, then he gets his cult. But the more he is him, and the more that the people who are like around him believe they can win, which of course they do because it's a cult and it's a doomsday cult, and they have absolute faith and magical thinking and all of this, then they will completely like alienate everyone else. Conrad was just pointing out to us how like the TV debate didn't even really move the needle. Like Biden performed that badly, and people are just set into, we want Trump, a pretty like a not insignificant but actually kind of small part of the population, not insignificant but not a valid, like a viable base really, versus we want to stop Trump but we don't want Biden or whatever, but kind of a similarly sized chunk of population that's just this like stagnant electoral thing. And like if Trump were assassinated, all the Republicans would be able to band together so quickly around like, we are aggrieved, they're trying to stop us, they're trying to silence us, all of this, even though it would have actually been a Republican who did it, because conspiracy theories would play a huge part. This is all still unfolding, and I want to say this as well. People who are very online believe that the truth can be written down like a page in a book, And things that happen in real life and are observed by real people in real life are way more just gunky and gummy, and the real world is a messy fucking place, and people's recall of events are crazy, right? We just had the thing we were saying about 9/11 and like people on the ground. They didn't know what a plane flying into a building looked like. They didn't know what a big building that size falling down looked like before. But also, like, if you are in a place and see someone who everyone is cheering for get shot at, your memory is just gonna like every neuron in your brain is gonna switch on at once, and then you're gonna try and form memories of that moment, and they're gonna be so influenced by movies you've seen, shows you've seen, books you've read, if books you've read, and like and then what people around you are saying, and then questions people ask you later. Did you see this person at this time doing this thing? And you're like, oh my god, I did. Or like, and like this is how misinformation builds in real time. We will see some bizarre, wacky bullshit emerge out, I think, in the next few days as people who were there have things to say about it. And it's
It
just
was
important to say
funny.
that like people's understanding of real life events mesh badly into like the internet, which is trying to turn everything in history into a database, right?
It was funny when he shot himself, though.
Yeah, we all saw that. I saw
That was really good. Just the way that he reacts. It's just exactly how Trump would react to being shot. First of all, he doesn't know what's going on at all. Like, he just has no idea what's happening. He knows something's happened, but he's like, that. And then he actually gets shot. And he
Yeah.
kind of like does something. Like, he obviously like felt it go past him and hit his ear or something, and he goes like that. And then he gets down. And it's like, wait, dude, were you worried about your hair? Like, what's going on? So weird.
I think it would have been he probably heard and felt the whiz past, but then like didn't quite realize what was going on, because it does take a second. It is very funny seeing all the like the liberal kind of takes about it, like, this is not America. We are, like, we settle our differences with ballots, not bullets. And like, it was one of our coalition leaders, our acting prime minister at the moment, David Seymour, was like, like America and New Zealand was settled on non-violence and all this kind of shit like that. It's like, bro, are you familiar with America, like, at all? But anyway, we should move on a little bit here.
Yeah,
Mule, why don't
sure.
you tell us about what's happening with the workers in Samsung Electronics?
Why don't I? Samsung Electronics workers have planned to go on an indefinite strike, and it's really exciting because actually Samsung workers are quite a big feature in working class history. I might be totally wrong about this, so just cut it all out if I get it wrong. But I'm pretty sure it's this, right? I'm pretty sure that this is what it is. There was a Samsung worker in the sort of early, I want to say 1950s, 1960s or something, in Korea, and basically just climbed a big pole and was like, "I'm not coming down until you give everyone proper wages. Make sure that we have proper overtime, all this kind of stuff." Really, 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 really base guy. He stayed up there for like fucking years or some shit. I can't remember exactly how long he stays up there. But like, I think eventually, I can't remember what they gave him. I think they gave him like a bit of compensation or something, just some farty bollocks, whatever, to, keep everyone sweet, everyone who supported him sweet, because he had loads of supporters. But since then, like, obviously, workers at Samsung have been doing more and more and more and more and more stuff, because they are just historically a really bad company. Like, they've just done horrible things.
Well,
So the long and short of it,
before we get in, I'll just say it was 60-year-old Kim Yong-hee. He was
That's
up
the
there
guy.
in 1995 for about a year, and it was because he had been fired for trying to set up a union, fired illegally.
I got so much of that wrong.
No, it's cool. And yeah,
I said it was 10 years.
Yeah, no, it was just under a year, but
sorry.
But yeah, he was up there for a very long time. It was like, that's almost 7 dog years, so
A year's a long time. It's all relative. Anyway, he was really cool, and he's really, really based for doing that. And but anyway, my point still stands. Samsung, historically bad company. But the long and short of it is that unionized workers at Samsung Electronics have initiated an indefinite strike for higher pay and benefits, escalating from a 3-day strike. Samsung Electronics claims no production disruptions and commits to negotiating in good faith. I mean, like, you know, this is always what they do, right? It's like, yeah, let's just, you know, let's just say that we're going to engage in good faith, but, you know.
Well, yeah. So Samsung in particular have like decades of history of like union busting, and they had a completely like no union policy just up until like a couple years ago, which when they changed it, they did an apology for, you know, like Kim back in the day and all that kind of stuff.
That's what it was. It was an apology. Yeah.
It was like, I think it was like, I think like 15 years later they apologized. So he wasn't.
Yeah, they didn't even give him any money. I can't believe it. I got it so wrong.
It's all right. But so, you know, they've only been able to organize there for a couple of years, and and they're already getting right into it. So
no, it's very, very exciting. And basically the union has reported disruptions to this kind of production stuff that Samsung is saying, like, you know, it's not happening or whatever. The union are like confident that they're going to get what they want, even though it's it's a bit unclear as to how many people are going to be going on strike, sort of ongoing kind of thing. But it'd be interesting to see how it kind of develops, because, you know, if this is an indefinite strike is the same thing that we kind of saw from the GKN workers collective that we had on the show, the ex-GKN workers, you know, obviously a little bit similar, not exactly similar because they occupied their factory, but, you know, an indefinite strike, sort of like, you know, creating a crisis for the ruling class, whatever it is, you know, it's a really big move, right? So we're starting really, really to see like so much more of this extremely, very, very, very based, high level resistance to capitalism and exploitation. Just like, it's just happening more and more, and it's really fucking good. I'm buzzed about it. I don't know if you can tell. But yeah, there's some just crazy stuff that, you know, Samsung have done in the past, and they've tried to negotiate with them in the past, and it's just not worked. You know, and obviously they've, like you said, Tim, they've just banned unions. They're like, yeah, no unions, whatever. Like, just an absolutely shit place for workers' rights, just in general. I think Samsung is also maybe on the BDS list. I can't remember. I can't remember if they do some like super dodgy shit with Israel. But yeah, absolutely awful. So massive solidarity to the striking Samsung workers. We're gonna have to keep a massive eye on this and keep reporting back on it. But Tim, why don't you tell us about some of the biggest comrades of all time, the furries?
Love to, Mule. So just this passing week, I think it was, we had the gay furry hacktivist collective Sieged Sec published that they had breached the Heritage Foundation. You know, we know the Heritage Foundation as being the just super shitty right-wing think tank, basically pushing super fascist stuff. You know, all linked up that, what is it, Project 2025, all that kind of garbage. So yeah, Siege Sec, a hacker group self-identifying as gay furries, announced their disbandment following FBI attention after hacking the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank. So from what I've heard, it was their intention was to do this and disband, but yeah, there has been significant attention from the authorities on this one that may have hastened that decision. The group claimed to have breached Heritage to oppose its stance on trans rights, and they leaked 72,000 unique email address, usernames, IP addresses, comments, and incomplete password data. The wild thing about this, though, is that so many of the IP addresses were just like not American whatsoever. Like it is really funny. It's like everyone's always talking about like foreign interference and stuff, and a lot of the IP addresses were people that were all over the world, a lot in like Russia.
Every
There was
accusation a confession, right? Like these guys
yeah
who are
yeah yeah.
receiving a bunch of funding from Russia or whatever, they're just
Mm,
like they think it's a completely normal thing, but they can also see that the public aren't really aware of it. But
yeah
they are like, we see that it's normal that behind the scenes we're getting money from all these fucking foreign billionaires. So of course the left must be doing it. And it's like,
yeah
no,
yeah
it's
yeah
you. It's
exactly.
you though.
It's absolutely the same down here. We're always having these kind of things pop up. But so Heritage downplayed the breach, stating that the Access archive was 2 years old and did not compromise its current systems, which is kind of funny because one of the representatives of SiegeSec VO got in touch with one of the heads of the Heritage Foundation. There was like a negotiation that happened, and the Heritage guy, I can't remember what his name is, like Mike Howell or something like that. He
No, I think
immediately
that was
was
one of the
like,
furries actually.
"What's that?" Oh yeah,
Mike
yeah,
Howell.
yeah. Yeah, no. It was I can't remember exactly what his name was, but he immediately was like just like raging, like I'm gonna destroy you, like like all this kind of stuff. Just uh not the I would say not the manner of someone who is feeling confident and comfortable about their place in the bargain, I would say.
Yeah.
Mainly because I think Siege Stick were just unwilling to compromise. They were initially, they said like, like how much money do you want, whatever, and they were like, we don't want anything, like this is what we wanted, which I think is very based. Siege Stick's attack was part of their Op Trans Rights campaign, targeting entities involved in anti-trans legislation and policies. And cybersecurity experts advise organizations in politically sensitive sectors to determine whether attacks are random or targeted, and to enhance response capabilities against such incidents. Is really funny because it's basically like, well, this is like a summary of a line from one of the stories about it, but it's like one of those things where it's like they're saying, okay, so if you are if you're out there, if you're a known shitlord, just be really careful with your internet presence, right? Like it's basically saying to friends of the Heritage Foundation, like, hey, maybe you guys need to just be careful, but watch yourself.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a sound piece of advice. Stop fucking with trans people if you don't want to get fucked by furries.
well, yeah, so that's it, right? It's like if you don't want to be hacked, don't do things that would provoke the gay furry community, like I would say our leading hacktivist demographic, some might say.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, oh no, I
Yeah,
made the
yeah,
people who do the most based hacking.
yeah, yeah.
Like the most based and the most based hacking. I made them all
They are
really
the
mad, then
target
they
of all of
hacked
my
me. Oh
aggression.
no shit, fuck.
But yeah, so that's been interesting to watch unfold. But why don't we find out now what's happening over in France again, with a little bit of an update on on
Yeah.
the
We,
EPF.
ha. Mélenchon posting is about to go through the roof. Everyone buy in. Mélenchon is going to the moon. Left-wing French coalition is hoping to introduce a 90% tax on the rich.
Let's go.
We're gonna we're gonna talk about some of the policies that the Nouveau Front Populaire are hoping to introduce as they're coming into power. Basically, yeah. So I mean, last week we talked about this, the kind of the shock twist results. We thought that Macron was pulling the snap election. It was going to pull in all of this far right power, or that's the threat, and then maybe people will vote for the liberals instead to keep the far right out. But the left just pulled an incredible amount of like sudden, swift, organized tactical voting and promotion of their coalition, the new Popular Front or Nouveau Front Populaire, and they've won a majority now. They're hoping to do some really cool stuff that we should talk about. So as we talked about last week, there's the socialists, the communists, the Greens, and Mélenchon's party are all in there. Mélenchon, for people who have no familiarity at all, can be thought of a little bit like a French Bernie. He kind of is. He's a cute little old guy who loves communism. So so the first thing is addressing minimum wage. They're proposing raising the minimum wage to improve income equality and purchasing power, which is generally a good one and something that we've seen people like campaigning for and marching for and protests for just across the globe in the time that we've been like doing the show.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
generally
it's an
like
eternal thing, right?
it's like there's a minimum wage rate. It's like a lot of parties, a lot of, I guess, like more liberal parties, or conservatives will try and offer, like, it'll be like a tax break, and they'll say like this is going to put more money in people's pockets or whatever. But minimum wage increases is actually like that's a way that affects more working class people. Usually the tax breaks thing is just total scam. So
Oh,
so
absolutely, yeah.
we love minimum wage increases.
Yeah, it's
They
not,
tend to
it ain't
affect across the
communism, but
both.
it is
Yeah,
great. Like
it's one of those things where it's like what we talk about, like like non-reformist
non-reformist
reforms or whatever.
reforms,
Like
exactly.
it's like this is genuinely gonna increase the baseline of like living standard
Yeah.
of a lot of people. So
Exactly, yeah, and to revisit the concept of non-reformist reforms quickly, like we're it's if you make a change in policy and then this actually frees up people's ability to like live their lives, advocate for themselves or whatever, that's fantastic. There's a long thing I could get into about the ways in which like UBI looks like it would do that, but then like wouldn't do that because of like the ways that it entrenches like imperialism. But like the minimum wage is a thing where it like it has a bit of that effect of kind of like there are higher standards inside of imperial core countries and therefore kind of entrenches imperialism. But ultimately, like you're just making a more robust economy at the end of the day. Like the people who are earning the least in your economy, which is thanks to the shape capitalism is, most of the people like have more money. They can spend it on more stuff. That's good for everyone. Right. The second thing is price controls. Now, price controls is kind of interesting because like they're used to varying degrees across like the imperial core and within like countries that have become like awful neoliberal hellscapes. But like pushing further price controls is, I don't know, it's something that even though it's always used to some degree and like you have to, there's the other side of price controls, which is subsidies and subsidizing like industries that you need in order for your economy to survive at all. Like America, America is in so many ways the most capitalist country there is, and still like subsidizes industries to make sure that they're going to be okay. And then but price control, like what I want to say about that was, oh yeah, when we talk about Vietnam, right? Like when we talk about Vietnam, who are now like part of the global market, they still have price controls and still can make sure that people can afford really basic stuff. It was one of the ways that Vietnam like was one of the countries that kind of famously like made it through the pandemic the best.
Yeah.
And it was because like they just didn't have like the same shortages or the same just crazy price hikes that we had everywhere else.
And especially when you look at like like food, electricity, gas, and petrol, and when you think about like all of the gigantic like working class protests that we have covered over the last like couple of years all over the world, and these are like the main things that people are like, oh, electricity is too expensive, and that ties into like, and it's because the cost of gas and the fucking generators and all this kind of stuff, and it's like these are very core things that I mean, like, this is the cost of living for a lot of people, so
totally, so that was exactly it. They're advocating for price controls on essential goods such as food, electricity, gas, and petrol to curb inflammatory pressures and ensure affordability. And like the yellow jackets as a thing, like were quite famous for their like the riots, and that was about like petrol prices. And there's been a lot of stuff in France where it'll be interesting to see like those issues getting resolved, because I don't think that it's going to lead to, I don't think it's going to really lead to like less rioting by the French. I'm not just trying to make like a joke of,
but
I'm not just
will?
I know how that sounds immediately, like I'm making a joke about like, oh, we all know the French are so based, but like in all seriousness, like it's when some things become part of your general consciousness as a population, and just like this is the thing we can do, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
so I live in South London, and like when there are protests, they're marching through Trafalgar Square, along Westminster to Big Ben, and then they're in Westminster Square. And maybe they have a longer march route than that, and they start somewhere else and they snake all around central London. But like they always do that same thing. And so it's almost like this thing of like, there is an issue that we're all aware of, and what are we going to do? We're going to get a crowd to come here and then walk down the road to here. And this is the thing we all know we will do whenever there's an issue: is congregate here, walk down the road to here, chant for a little bit, have some speeches, and then go home. And if there's lots and lots and lots, like if there's tons of numbers, then that's good, because we will see that we've lots of support for it, I guess. But it's just like, by contrast, if you know that like when people find shit to be unacceptable, it will kick off and it will become a riot. Like it just becomes part of like the language of the oppressed, right? Like the protests and riots are the language of the oppressed, and it just like, I think that it's a. I would be surprised if there is overall less rioting by the French, because I think it's like going to have another non-reformist reform effect where people go, cool, now we can riot about stuff that isn't just the cost of living.
Yeah. Like we can keep doing this, you know.
Yeah, we can push hard because we won, because the rioting worked. We got there eventually, you know, which isn't strictly true, but isn't untrue either.
Like over the last few years, a lot of we've seen a lot of these global protest movements that have emboldened subsequent movements, right? Like, you know, people being like, oh yeah, I turned up for Black Lives Matter. I know what to do at a protest. I'll go to the Gaza one. Like, like we remember when we did that, we can do this one. And I think that that's something that I think it takes a while for people to forget, like people as a collective to forget that they can do things like that, right? You know, like, or it takes like a significant kind of pushback from the state to scare people out of it. I think it's one of those things where it's like, you know, once a generation of people knows this is something they can do, it's and I would love to see more of that around the world. You know, it's like, a lot of people turning out for, you know, like Gaza and stuff and all that kind of thing, but like, you know, also like down here in New Zealand, we have like a supermarket duopoly that is making billions of dollars of, you know, of profits like all the time. It's like, what if we all just started turning out in the streets and, you know, kind of like protesting them directly? What if instead of camping outside of the fucking, you know, the Israeli embassy, what if we just started doing it at fucking, you know, for the supermarkets, things like that? You know, it's like these things getting added into our ideas, our little.
Well, I think I think that using the metaphor of language is really useful here, because like
it is,
because there's a couple of things, right? One, I'm going to try not to get in the weeds, but like the whole movement of structuralism is looking at how like our use of language forms and reifies concepts and ideas and experiences into specifics. And like once you have a word for something and a grammar that fits together, like it becomes this rigid thing. And like that's the case for like which protest actions and which direct actions you feel you can take, because ultimately like the police things so much on normalcy. And it's just like, if the protest powers came in Britain, and we've been watching some progress with like trying to repeal them now, but like they haven't been applied as much as they could have, because people like ultimately like if it would mean arresting such a huge chunk of the population, like I think there are science fiction stories like fairly commonly where some kind of like robot takes over policing, not RoboCop, but like it might be a thing that happens in RoboCop too, but like when a computer is put in charge of policing and tries to just like enforce absolutely every law perfectly and quickly wants to arrest like 90% of the population for just like minor traffic violations or whatever, because it just reads it in that completely literalistic way. And it's like, that's not actually how policing works. The state has to mediate class tensions in favor of the ruling class, but it has to mediate class tensions. It can't make the class tensions worse, otherwise it's doing a piss poor job. And like, I don't know. That all went off the rails a little bit. I was just going to quickly say, this is why traveling is really important for your comrades, right? Like going to other places, seeing what they're doing there, learning about it, and then taking it to different places. This is why we're so keen to do the ZAD documentary, is because there are like a dozen ZAD documentaries in French already. We want one in English. Like we want a full-length one exploring the history of it and the stuff in English, because like it's amazing how there are a bunch of ZADs also. Like they're not all as successful as the Notre Dame des Landes one, but like, you know, like it's just when you learn about this stuff, it empowers you. And like travel is so important, because if you go somewhere and see face to face people who've successfully pulled some shit off, like it changes something for you. So okay, I should press on with the policy proposals, I think. But yeah, I do like this idea of like language of protest. It's obviously an idea that's already kicks around, but I just think that like the language of like what things you feel that you can do. So let's see how else the left-wing coalition seeks to empower the working class. We've got the retirement age, aims to lower retirement age from current levels to 60, allowing early access to pensions. That was actually another source of a huge riot. So I think it's interesting. Again, you see this kind of like, it will enter the public consciousness as like, yeah, we rioted about that, and now the government is changing it for us.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Like we won, we did that, right?
Yeah. This was what the huge riot where they raised it up to 64, like just like like a couple of months ago. That's what this was. That's what triggered this all. So
I think it was sometime last year, but yeah.
Time goes fast.
Yeah. Wealth tax. So there's going to be a new tax rate of 90% on annual incomes exceeding 400,000 euros, targeting high income earners to fund social programs and economic initiatives, which is fucking incredible. And also just like, like you don't need that money. Like fucking absolutely 90% on 100% on past to that. Like fucking no. Introduce a maximum wage. Fuck this. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So a green transition emphasizes substantial investments in transitioning to a green economy, focusing on renewable energy, environmental conservation, and sustainable development. The problem here, of course, is going to be, it's like, I haven't been critiquing the other stuff as being like, oh, that's good, but it's not communism. Because ultimately that change can't come from above, right? Like ultimately, if there were to be successive big pushes by the organized working class in France, and amazingly you had communist France, right? It wouldn't happen because the coalition got in, and then we're just like, cool, let's have communism now. So I haven't been doing that critique. But like when it comes to like green policy, I mean, it's still ultimately the same thing, because ultimately it's going to take revolution to handle climate change properly. But yeah, you just can't make a green economy in capitalist terms.
Yeah, I think that also, like, when we're thinking about these compromises that they've made, these sort of like, things that they're thinking of, everybody has to remember as well that it's not just like one party, it's a coalition, like we've been saying. It's a bunch of different parties. There's I can't remember how much of it's the Communist Party, but I think it might be 9% or something. I can't remember. I'm very wary of quoting numbers now after my massive faux pas before, but it's a small amount. And if you're in, even if something like that is democratic, and all the communists are saying actually yes, we should have a maximum wage, yes, we should destroy fossil fuel infrastructure, etc., they're still going to get outvoted, because there's this is the pragmatic result of leftist unity, which is a net good, but not ideal.
Yeah, cool. And so what else we got?
So we've got the public services. They're making a commitment to significant investments in public services such as healthcare, education. Education, and public transportation, aiming to improve accessibility and quality. Which, as a train enjoyer and a tram enjoyer and a bus enjoyer, I simply yes.
Public transport and accessibility for it is always a huge big W.
So
not much more to say about that.
So we've got the final notes here. We already said this, but Mélenchon is a prominent figure on the coalition and is characterized as a firebrand, and has been likened to Jeremy Corbyn in his political approach. As far as I'm aware, Corbyn, Bernie, and Mélenchon are all in the group chat together right now, roasting your outfit, sharing memes, probably saying some shit about Trump, I guess. But they are all in touch, and it's a thing. I think I remember hearing about like Bernie and Corbyn calling each other during like election stuff. I can't remember the details right now.
Yeah, that did happen.
Corbyn probably being like, Bernie, what's this shit about Israel? What's going on there?
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm
Manuel
gonna get
Bompard.
Mélenchon on the phone. He's gonna tell you the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just bullying him together.
He needs it.
Manuel Bompard, representing the France Unbowed party within the coalition, insists on appointing a prime minister aligned with the coalition's agenda. Overall, the Nouveau Front Populaire represents a significant shift in French politics toward a more leftist, interventionist economic agenda aimed at addressing inequality and promoting social welfare programs. Interventionist, as opposed to the laissez-faire neoliberal economic thing, not like
the American
doing more
interventionist.
I just think it's worth saying when we're talking about France interventionism that we're not talking because France needs some more interventionist policy. I think they need to get more involved.
and we were discussing earlier, weren't we, that in Star Trek, Britain is not really mentioned, and Jean-Luc Picard.
Yep.
Where's he from? He's from France, isn't he?
That's true.
So I think this is just the beginning of the end for Britain. I'm really happy about it.
We're on our way into the Star Trek future. We got the Irish reunification is coming.
Yeah, I know.
The troubles are starting again in Ireland right now.
Well, it is actually kicking off in Derry at the minute. I think
a plausible way around that the reunification could happen, and that it might involve the destruction of the UK.
Well, I just googled it, and they said that in 2036, the Irish unification was noted by Lieutenant Commander Data as one of numerous examples in history where terrorism was successfully used to bring about political change.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The Irish reunification of 2024, he said. So, yeah. Well, So, here on Red Planet, we're going to keep an eye on that. But, Mule, why don't you tell us, unfortunately, there's more horrible news from Palestine. So, that's our last thing. Can you tell us about that?
Of course. Palestine, 90 killed in an attack on a safe zone. It has happened again. Of course, it keeps happening. It just does not stop. Another safe zone, another place where they've been told, there you go, that you could go here. It's safe. You won't get bombed. I think the thing that everybody just, it shouldn't. I shouldn't have to say it. I don't think we at Red Planet should have to say it to remind people now, but I guess just in case anyone doesn't know, the way the IDF works, the IOF, the Israeli Occupation Force, is just really shoot at will. There's so many examples of officers, lieutenants, people in the army, they're just basically being... we just get told to shoot whenever we want. It's fine, and I think that we should because all Palestinians are terrorists. There was an interview with someone that I saw on I-24, I think it is, which is the Israeli 24 hours Sky News kind of thing. And he had said he had been in Gaza and in a hospital, and he was saying there was a room where 30 terrorists were being born, right? In the hospital, that's how he referred to these babies being born. There's a room where 30 terrorists are being born, and the I-24 news host that is like extremely biased towards the occupation and the genocide of Palestinians is literally like, they're babies, and he's going terrorists, and then he goes babies, terrorists. It's actually bizarre. So yeah, I think it's important that just remind yourself that Israel is literally a terrorist state if we're talking about real terrorism. So
there is this complete freedom of action within Gaza, just this fucking free-for-all. There was an interview recently, I think it was there was an interview earlier this week where an Israeli soldier used the phrase, "I'm bored, so I shoot." Like there just isn't there keeps on being this liberal critique and this rules-based order critique of they're violating international law and we have to blah blah blah, and it's that's just not real. None of that is real. Israel has to be stopped. It has to be fucking destroyed because you've got a population of people who have been fantasizing about doing the thing they're doing right now for decades, and they've been being churned through the horrible abusive brutalizing psycho fucking training program of conscription in the IDF and the IOF, and and all this propaganda telling them about calling babies fucking terrorists, and now they've been literally like let loose into this. Like that is the really important thing to understand here is that like there's command in terms of like where the higher ups think that they could do the most damage to kill more people and strategic victories of killing more people, but most of it is just like people just getting to do what the fuck they want, and it's not
Yeah.
the rules don't apply.
And to be clear, the way in which this has been sort of, this was 90 Palestinians and 300, 90 died and 300 were wounded. Sheltering in this quote unquote humanitarian safe zone, where everybody is still starving, and it's unbelievable to try and think of what it's like in there. And Israel has obviously said, "Oh well, we were aiming at a Hamas commander. Yeah, we got this guy, Mohammed Deif, but literally all Hamas spokespeople have said we have had zero reports of any commanders being killed. It's always nonsense. It's always a lie. And also, I think it's important to remember, they're in a real bad situation in Gaza. It doesn't quite get worse than what they're going through in Gaza. There's also been exposés recently in the last few weeks, I think at least, or even over the last month, of just Palestinians in torture prison camps in the desert. There's been all these different exposés, and it's how long can they just deny that they're doing, okay, maybe not the Holocaust, right? If we're talking exact numbers, whatever, however they want to say that they're not doing the Holocaust, they're not as many. We didn't kill as many, whatever, right? They're doing the same stuff. They're just doing the same stuff, right? It's how long can they go on denying this, that they're behaving in that way, because it's just the contradictions are just becoming so much more obvious. But I think, you could get really sort of, doomy about this stuff. And it's a horrific situation. There's no other way to put it. But I think it is important to remember that the Al-Qassam brigades are still resisting within Gaza. They're in Khan Yunis. They're in northern Gaza still. They're all over Gaza. This is the thing. And they are still literally blowing up tanks by the daily. You just don't hear about that because that would just completely go against any kind of narrative that Israel wants the world to hear, which is, we're the superior force and we haven't lost any troops and nothing bad happens to us. Actually, no, they genuinely lose tanks on the daily. Again, shout out to the boy, Jake Hanrahan, Popular Front. There's always some good updates on there. You want to see some Hamas lads blowing up a tank, that'll be on there for sure. Yeah, you can see some of that. But yeah, no, it's you can take hope from that stuff. But it is important to still absolutely do whatever you can wherever you are, in terms of pressuring governments to divest, pressuring corporations, whatever kind of, if you're in a job and you know that they do business with Israel or they do business with a company that supports Israel, you can unionize, you can ask for a bunch of people to sign a petition to get the workplace to do it, and then if to drop a relationship with a company like that, and if it doesn't work, then you can strike. There's things that you can do. And they can be effective and very, very powerful. So don't forget Palestine. All eyes on Palestine. It's still happening. And yeah, that's the update.
It is
Okay,
indeed.
thanks for the update. Yeah, we want to remind everyone that Red Planet is made possible by the direct support of our viewers. You can go to patreon.com/red_planet. And you can check out our Patreon there and support us at various different tiers. I'm not going to chat to you about it just now. We'll tell you a bit more at the end. So I think that having covered all the news, we're going to move on to the main segment today, which is we are lucky enough to be joined by Sarah Jane Baker, an activist, author, and the longest-serving transgender inmate in Britain, having served time at 30 different prisons over the course of 29 years inside, having written 2 books while incarcerated and contributed to a third. Sarah is an activist who has been involved with various things. I believe the HS2 camps, more besides. I'm looking forward to hearing straight from her. So Sarah, welcome to the show.
Greetings from Kew Gardens.
Nice to meet you,
Aw.
Sarah. How are you?
Well, I'm not in prison.
Yeah.
In spite of since I got out of prison, right? J.K. Rowling put my criminal record on her Twitter.
Cool.
That's just
cool.
mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is just mean. That's just bullying. That's horrible.
I mean, that's the equivalent of being doxxed, isn't it?
Yeah. Pretty much.
She does love to
gosh.
do that.
Yeah, she
She's a
does
piece
do
of
that.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
kind
and
of
then
the whole thing.
and then Kelly J. Keane encouraging people to call me a murderer at protests.
Jesus. Yeah,
That's not very
normal.
ladylike.
It's not.
It's not. It's not.
No, is it?
It's correct.
Yeah.
So, do you want to maybe tell our viewers a bit about yourself, a bit about your activist history? Yeah, I mean, how introduce yourself however you want, really, Sarah.
Oh, yeah. Hi, everybody. Yeah. My activist history. I'm an accidental activist. I have a borderline personality disorder. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that condition.
I'm quite familiar. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
but it means that I'm really annoying.
That is what it means. Yeah.
Which is why I was told I had to serve a minimum of 9 years in prison, but I ended up doing 30 because I couldn't keep my
Christ.
mouth shut, and I always upset everybody.
Yeah, they don't like it when you do that, especially in prison. I've heard that. That's a fact. Yeah.
But I'm saying it. I deserve to be there. I'm not making no bones about that, But I mean, when I got recalled, anyway, sorry, the activism, the accidental activist. So I got out of prison after serving 30 years. I spent 6 months in a bail hostel, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do with the rest of my life to give my life some meaning? I'd spent 30 years in prison, kind of fantasizing about what kind of future I would have. The parole boards were telling me, look, when we release you, we want you to be a constructive member of society and put something in rather than taking out all the time. I said, well, that's all well and good, but it's like I'm not allowed to forget my criminal record at all, which is atrocious. I mean, I was out of control. I make no bones about that, and I'll take it on the chin. So I mean, you do your do the crime, do your time. But the thing is, they kept me in jail for so long, not necessarily because I was dangerous, but because I was ill. Until such time I did my castration, when they wouldn't give me treatment, they wouldn't give me hormones. They wouldn't give me the same kind of treatment, access to gender clinics as other people outside of the prison system. So as both a political act and for my own well-being, I did my own castration. I don't really have any regrets. I mean, my life as an eccentric trans woman. So I mean, my life's okay. I'm doing all right. I'm really blessed. I've got good friends, a good support network. But people just kept inviting me to give speeches. Yeah. Or I'd go to different protests. I mean, so it was like the Stop HS2 railway line, from destroying our countryside. Then I ended up in Extinction Rebellion, then Just Stop Oil, Insulate Britain. Then I started getting involved in actions, in community protesting, in support of people in our community with HIV. Then it went into I become an intersectional activist by accident.
That's perfect. That's absolutely wonderful.
So, I mean, the only thing I've got going for me is my mouth and my borderline personality disorder, which means I can proper dig in and feed my narcissism by...
I feel so much solidarity, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm great at attention seeking. Which is why Samantha Braverman forced the Metropolitan Police to have me arrested and put on trial, but I got not guilty. Did you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something I have a question about. So you're essentially you were recalled because you gave a speech at Trans Pride, and you said some stuff about TERFs, and your parole. My understanding of it is that your parole people didn't see it as an issue, but then the transphobes put a pressure to, like, it said this is unacceptable, this is she's dangerous, and then Suella Braverman like put pressure to have you recalled, and then after all this time, like, they just found that there was no offense at all, and this whole extra stretch that they've had you back in for was completely unnecessary, and of course it was, because you were just speaking, right? Like, you were just giving a speech, like, you didn't actually break any laws.
Well, I don't know if you believe in conspiracies, but the conspiracy that they put, the way they plotted against me, it was more than that. So I'll try and keep it simple, because I keep going off on tangents. It's my nature.
Feel free. We've got 2 hours. Honestly, it's all good.
So I said at London Trans Pride, if you see a effing TERF, bleep bleep them in the F bleep bleep bleep, right? I was just being funny, right? And I know TERFs ain't got no sense of humour.
They haven't. They haven't.
Graham Linehan, J.K. Rowling, right? Kelly J. Keane. They must be the most miserable people ever, because I don't pay no attention to anything they say. But anything I say, they just share it across social media and get people attacking me on Mumsnet. And I don't care, because I've got a BPD. The more they're talking about me, the more I realise I'm doing the right thing.
They're obsessed. They're actually
I
obsessed.
I'm on the right side of history for once. Gay people went through worse stuff than we did, or than we are. The gay community had to go through their baptism of fire to be able to have the right to exist in this country. And it's well, I'm a bit disappointed with blinking West Streeting. Yeah, about these puberty blockers, that whatever fascist rules the Tories want to bring out, Labour want to go along with it. So anyway, I'm sitting in my flat, and so all these turfy people and stuff, they've gone to the Metropolitan Police and said, arrest Sarah J. Baker, arrest her, she's a murderer, arrest her, get her off the streets, right? She's trying to invade our spaces. She wants to join women's sports. Women's sports, I struggle to get out of bed in the morning, right? Women's sports. So anyway, the Metropolitan Police said I had no case to answer, which was really nice of them. And I think it reflected the Metropolitan Police and how liberal they are compared to the Tories, right? So the TERFs are not happy, so they force Suella Braverman to make a statement saying that she's encouraging the Metropolitan Police to reassess their decision. Thus, I was arrested, and I know it gets even more worse than this, because I've got some information that no one will know about this, right? But I'm going to release it, right? So when I was taken to Charing Cross Police Station, I said, why am I here? They didn't say, oh, you're here to be charged with gobbing off at Trans Pride. They said, you're here to be recalled. And I went, well, for a few words, for a summary offence, which normally might get you £100 fine, because I was a life sentence prisoner on parole, they decided to recall me. That was all I knew at that time. When I got to Wandsworth, where my friend Daniel Khalif, the guy who escaped from Wandsworth prison by clinging onto the food wagon.
Oh yeah. I heard about him.
Daniel Khalif. I've still got the card off his door, and we wrote on it, "Gone fishing." Yeah, Daniel Khalif, he was a good kid, right? Don't believe the crap that the media say about him, call him a terrorist.
Definitely not.
He was just a dark kid. So anyway, I find out that the police had said that I threatened to stab my partner. And that was another reason they were recalling me.
And that's just obviously
Jesus
like
Christ.
Yeah, say hello, Nita.
I don't know if you want to hear about it.
Yeah,
from
yeah,
my
yeah, go on,
side
Nita.
at all, but, I mean, it was insane. So yeah, we haven't really said this to anybody because it was like too much. But like when Sarah was in Charing Cross police station, like the police officers, everyone kept saying to me, oh, you know, she'll be out soon. I'm sure, like, you know, she's not going to be kept in for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
At the same time, they were saying to her, you're being recalled. So they're giving a completely different message to her than to me. And I kept like trying to like contact her and ring her and get the custody sergeant to put me through to her. And they kept saying, oh, Sarah just doesn't want to talk to anybody. Like she was just too upset to talk to anybody. And we were there all night, and we were there like until the next following afternoon, like not having heard anything from her. And I was so worried. And then her solicitor says to me, oh, they've made a decision to recall her. And they're having a meeting about it. And it wasn't until after that meeting that that I get a call from her, like really just so distraught, saying she's been recalled, and she was like, they're gonna kill me in here, and she was like, I'm gonna make them kill me in here, and this sort of thing. Just really, really distraught. And that apparently was the phone call where she's supposed to threaten me, and it was like, but she never said that.
Jesus.
And that phone call didn't happen until after the decision had been made to recall her. But that is the only reason that they say.
Yes, the glamorous Anita.
hey.
It's lovely to have you back on the show.
Anita's my rock.
Oh,
Hell
I
yeah.
bet.
She's an activist. Dykes for trans rights.
Hell yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Anita's absolutely amazing because she has to put up with my mental health issues too, you know, not just me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so I have a couple of questions. So one is about, so just to clarify for everyone, we keep on talking about being recalled, and like, so my understanding of this is just like, you've been a prisoner in the UK, like there is some degree to which like the state can just decide to put you back in at whatever point they like. And I mean, that's in your, like, it's supposed to work by any kind of actual judicial process with like respect to the law, but in your case it's been demonstrated really clearly that like if it's political, they can just decide to put you away again because they want to.
Absolutely. Cruella Braverman, it was overreach. It was state overreach.
Yeah, absolutely. And politically motivated, clearly.
If it wasn't for the fact that I was on parole, I would have probably got £100 fine, if that.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, you were found not guilty in the end, so
people might not like, but I mean, I'm not trying to justify it. I am. Listen, I said what I said. I didn't want no one to be punched in the face.
Sure.
I mean, I just wanted to, but what I was aware of is that the prides that happened, the London Pride, not the trans Pride, the London Pride that happened on the TV and the papers, it didn't even get 5 minutes of coverage.
No, absolutely
I said,
not.
You know what? I got an idea, right? I've got an idea in my borderline personality disorder brain. I got an idea that we can get in the papers. And I might not be the most glamorous like trans activist, but I'm eccentric. I mean, I don't hide behind masks. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely glamorous. 1,000%.
When I go to protest, people say, do you want a mask? I go, nah, they already know who I am.
So I had another question, which is about you said your illness. Now, were you referring to dysphoria, or were you referring to being pre-transition, or were you referring to your mental health? Because I'll admit to that I'm reading from your Wikipedia a little bit here, but it said that you learned to read and write while inside.
Yeah, I did. I was.
And the question I guess I'm having is just like, how do you feel like, you know, with being trans and not realizing it until way into your time in prison, with like being illiterate when you went in, and with your mental health, like, how do you feel about like what our society is setting up for people like yourself? Like if you wind up inside, like, do you think that there is a meaningful like a system in place for someone to have a life afterwards, or to be to like be given like a fair shot, or what's your kind of perspective? That was a bit jumbled, I'm sorry.
Like life is hard. So I mean, for a lot of people are struggling who've never been to prison, who don't have a criminal record. So when a lot of help is funneled into released prisoners, a lot of people who've never been to jail, they kind of resent it. Do you know what I mean? They don't want you to say to people, look, you just come out of prison, you've done 30 years. I mean, I've got an eviction notice hanging over my head. Do you know what I mean? And I can't make the rent.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can't make the rent where I live, and I think that would be great if there was more support for prisoners after they were released. But
I'd happy to give you some advice on your eviction, or at least put you on to someone in London Renters Union. I'm sure they'd help you.
Yeah, for
after the show.
Yeah, I'm saying this in all sincerity. Do you know what I mean? I get great help from my probation officer. A lot of people think that probation officers don't do a good job, but they've been really great. They've supported me. They've given me lots of like specialized like mental health treatments. Because I mean, I still have issues, but I'm getting older, so I'm growing out of it. I'm trying to be a bit more gentle and a bit more user friendly with my anarchist flag. Hold on a second. Got the gorgeous Anita again. Go on, Anita.
I just wanted to make really clear, I guess, for the record, on what we were saying about the reason for recall and the accusation about Sarah making threats against me, is that down the line, eventually, after many, many months, Sarah got it in writing that they had actually checked the CCTV of the call and that no such threats were made. So
so it's fully on their record.
In any doubt, we've got all of that in writing and can evidence what's been said there. Cheers.
And that is how I got parole.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them at all.
And they said, we don't know what to do with you. I said, what do you mean you don't know what to do with me? I said, just let me out. They said, well, they said we can't think, like, they couldn't really think of a reason to keep me in. One, I got a not guilty on the trial. Then the police come forward with these records and said I'd never threatened anybody. And they just had to let me go. They said this, they said, we fully support your activism. We like your books. We see the stuff you do on TV. Keep doing what you're doing, but just tone it down a bit. And then they paroled me.
That is absolutely mental.
Yeah. But Parkhurst was proper grim. I mean, they stopped my hormone treatment. And I put on 20 kilos.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I mean, that should be, that's like, that's withholding someone's medication. Like, it's surely a violation of a human rights law there. I really feel like it must be.
But I have them now.
Fantastic.
I have to know. The fact is, like, it wasn't it wasn't necessary. I mean, I needed them for gender dysphoria, but bless you. But I also needed them because my body doesn't produce like any hormones.
Yeah.
Since my castration.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I was really sick. Yeah, Parkhurst was rubbish.
Yeah. So was that where you were? Was Parkhurst where you were the whole time that you were in, or like after you'd been recalled?
When I was in Wandsworth, and then they moved me to. Then when Daniel Khalif escaped from Wandsworth prison, they moved everybody from my wing, and I ended up in Parkhurst. I'll say this right: the prisoners, like most of the prisoners were proper, like, in for monstrous stuff, stuff you don't even want to talk about before 9 o'clock. But the staff were absolutely amazing. They treated me great. They already knew I was from that TV stuff, and they were really kind.
Do you
I
think?
couldn't have got out of Parkhurst without the support of the staff.
Do you think that they genuinely were giving you an easy ride because they proper knew you and that?
Well, they were saying to me, like, because when I did that Channel 5 program, Evil Behind Bars, and then the Sean Atwood interview, and then the James English interview. But now, to top it all, I'm with you. I mean, you eclipsed all of those. You're the superstar. But, like, the thing is, I didn't know that so many people would know who I was. Channel 5 had been repeating that Evil Behind Bars for, like, months and months. And, you know, in prison, everybody watches programs about prison. So they knew who I was. And some were scared that I would go to the press or go to the media if I wasn't treated right. But, you know, I mean, apart from, it was the doctor who was married to an infamous TERF who stopped my hormones. It wasn't the prison officers. They didn't stop my hormones. They were fully supportive.
The doctor that was married to a famous TERF.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know so much famous, but a TERF that has written a book about it.
God.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's horrible.
What was the name?
Oh God, I've got a name.
I'm trying to remember.
Someone. We don't know exactly what their relationship is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We suspect it's like the wife of the doctor.
Right.
He said I don't believe that in giving female hormones to a biological male.
Yeah,
I said,
didn't he say that he wanted to give you testosterone because you weren't producing any hormones? Yeah, horrible.
He held it in front. Where he got the. He said like he held the prescription like in front of me and said, look, if you can't handle like not having the hormones, we have this one for you, and this will stop all your problems. I said that's really unkind.
Yeah,
that's horrible.
Awful.
That's absolutely disgusting behavior.
It was just meanness for the sake of it. But but the staff were amazing.
Okay, let's. I was wondering if you would. Yeah, I guess like talk to us a little bit about like any kind of. I guess they give you this kind of advice when you leave prison, right? Like you were talking about it earlier a little bit. You alluded to it. They say to you like, don't get involved in any wrong crowds and stuff like that. And did they, just out of interest, because we've spoken to people who've been incarcerated before on this show, and they said to us that they make a very clear point to not get involved in any left-wing activism. Is that something that they said to you? Or like you say, was it literally just this proper, like, you know, that didn't, even if they did say it, it didn't even enter into your head and you still went ahead and did all the stuff anyway? Or they did say it?
No, they said nothing to me. They said, we support what you do. My probation officer said they support what I do, but just to realise that there are boundaries and to try to just
tone it down, like.
Do you know what I mean? I can maybe put my big toe on the line, but I can't like put my old foot across it.
Defo.
But who's told you that they can't? That they've been told that they can't.
Do you know anyone? Do you know? Well, you can watch our interview him. It was John from Prison Abolitionist Network, Prison Solidarity Network, if you know him.
John Bowden.
I think that's his name. Yeah, I think that's his name.
Bowden.
Yeah.
I used to be in with them, the Prisoner Solidarity Network.
Really? Okay, cool. Yeah, we've done an interview with them. And he told us about that. He told us that they say it to some prisoners that they'll, you know, don't get involved with any leftist stuff, basically. So yeah, I guess like talk to us about sort of like what have you been doing since you got out? Have you just been sort of healing, recovering?
Well, I mean, I don't want to sound snipey, you know what I mean? But see, being trans, like you got thousands of people dedicated to try to shut you down or to put you behind bars. But like John Bowden, he's also come out focusing on like the negativity and I mean what a state their prison system is. But people don't put his criminal record all across social media, but they do mine. Do you know what I mean? And just calling me I mean, it's semantics. I mean, I wasn't charged with any murders. I've never killed anybody. Do you know what I mean? But I've done horrendous stuff. And I mean, when I was a teenager, I can't make no bones about that. But I did 30 years, and if people aren't happy with that, I mean, I can't Do you know what I mean? No, if I was in prison for 1,000 years, do you know what I mean, people still wouldn't be happy. They think that because I've been in jail, I have no rights.
Yeah, it's a load of crap.
I have no rights to stand for Parliament because of my criminal record. Everyone always brings that up. I mean, but when I went to jail, I'll say this to you, right, with all honesty, right, I didn't really know any better. I mean, I didn't know any better. I was raised by a violent dad to be violent. In my family, violence was respected. If someone hit you, you hurt them back. If your dad told you to do something, do you know what I mean? If your dad told you to go out and hammer somebody, you just got to do it. You do what you're told. But I mean, I was feral, and I mean, dysfunctional background. And like I say, I couldn't read and write till I went to jail. Yeah. And I'm not saying that learning to read and write made my life any better. It just realised it made me even more aware of what a sticky situation I was in.
Of course,
what a deep hole I was in, and how I had to try and dig my way out of it using education, using my music. So I play the violin and the guitar, and I do artwork. I do lots of art. So, I mean, so I focused on good things and doing good stuff, but you know, I'm not allowed. There are people out here who Suella Braverman, Kemi Badenoch. I mean, look, even David Tennant come out and supported us.
Yeah, that was top.
yeah. But I was going to say in my speech, I'm giving a speech at London Trans Pride this year. We're hoping to have about 50,000 people. It was 35,000 last year. That's what the police said to me. But what I'm going to say, I got a message from Kemi Badenoch and Suella Braverman. We're not scared of the Daleks. We're not scared of the meat. I'm definitely not scared of them. But I'm a little bit scared.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, TERFs, man. They scare me. I don't mind saying, because they will dox you. They will put your address online and your criminal record, and they're plotting and they're digging away. And I'm like, where's all this? Where's all their hatred come from for the trans community?
You're just trying to chill.
Yeah. I like being trans, you know what I mean? But the thing is, I think we're a lot of the turfy people I've had contact with, what they've said to me to try and justify their anger and their venomous feelings like towards the trans community. They said, like, they've given birth to a beautiful baby girl, and both the mother and the dad, they've raised this child, right, believing that the dad's going to walk the daughter down the aisle. It's going to be a beautiful white wedding. And then the daughter goes off to university and then comes back wearing a binder saying, in future, I don't want you to call me, I don't want you to call me Rachel. I want you to call me Stuart. Do you know what I mean? And you're not going to get grandkids. And then parents, they turn into TERFs.
Right, yeah.
It's like they blame the whole trans community for killing their opportunity to be grandparents and walking their daughter down the aisle.
But it's nonsense, isn't it? It's just complete nonsense. It's like that kind of stuff, having an expectation on a child is turning him into property, isn't it? It makes you feel like you're property.
Yeah. I know what you mean, but we all do it.
For real. Yeah. Defo.
I mean, we could at least out ourselves, you know what I mean? Because we look at our kids and we try and live through them. We want them to be like, you think, well, I want to be a violinist, so I want my kid to be a violinist, you know what I mean? Because I was too lazy to put any effort into it. So I put pressure on my kid to be what I want them to be. Do you know what I mean? Or the daughter comes downstairs getting ready to go out with her friends, and her parents goes, "Get back upstairs and change. You ain't going out wearing that." You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what my mum used to get a lot. Definitely, she told me that all the time. So talk to us then about like, because you've got your books in it. You've got sorry, what is it called? Transgender Behind Prison Walls?
Yeah, Transgender Behind Prison Walls.
Talk to us about how...
Well, my first book was called Life Imprisonment, an Unofficial Guide.
Talk to us about how you, like, basically got started, because it's actually really inspiring that you just went to prison and didn't know how to read and write. You learned how to do it in there, and then you wrote a book about your own experiences. Talk to us about how like how that got kickstarted, what the process was like, the journey. Yeah, let's hear it.
Yeah, well, I never considered writing a book. I'd written a few poems. I was all proper pretentious. I mean, I went from a feral kid to like a posh kid.
You discovered art.
I started speaking in iambic pentameter. I mean, after doing my GCSEs, and then started writing really bad poetry like Philip Larkin. So I mean, when I got to like my AS level and stuff. But the thing is, I was in Franklin's prison in 1994, and a writer, I don't know if you're familiar with her, Linda LaPlante.
Don't know. Anyway, Tim's more the book person than me.
Yeah, she used to write. She writes crime novels. She writes crime novels and produce them. I can't remember the stuff she done on TV. But she's a clever woman. Do you know what I mean? Made a few quid from her writing. Anyway, she comes to Franklin Prison in the education department to give a visit. And I said, "What projects are you on at the moment?" And she was writing a book called The Governor, about a woman governor in a man's prison. It went on TV in the end. So she said she wanted people to like people's ideas or people's stories that they could put into the program, real stories of prison. And she gave me £1,000.
That's well good.
So I put two. I wrote two screenplays. I got a book from the library about how to write screenplays, and I just blagged it. I borrowed an old prison typewriter that an old crackhead on the wing had, and I just knocked off these two screenplays that Linda LaPlante used. So I made sure that I got £1,000 for that Christmas. And another friend of mine on the landing, I gave him £1,000 because he didn't have no family or no friends or nothing.
Oh,
yeah. But it encouraged me. I thought, well, there's money in this. But then I woke up one day because all prison officers, they send life sentence prisoners to me. Because when I go to prison, I'm normally the longest serving life sentence prisoner in that system. Not many lifers end up doing 30 years.
Right. Yeah.
So instead of like people asking me questions, I thought I'd just write a book instead.
Save yourself the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I'd just write a book about it instead. And then once I finished the one, say, Life Imprisonment, an unofficial guide, I thought, well, I might as well write something about if you come to prison and you're trans. I mean, something which might give you a bit of guidance as to what you're entitled to, how you're likely to be treated. Most people were great to me in prison.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about that. Talk to us about sort of like, you know, I guess like, because it's kind of one of those things, like you said, most people have not been in prison, innit? You know what I mean? The majority of people have not been in prison. And I guess like, what would your sort of like experience, I guess like say to those people that they might think like, you know, oh my God, prison's this like horrible, scary place. And of course it is. It's not like it isn't. But like, talk to us about the reality of it, innit? The reality of what it was like for you.
The reality is I just normally try to have a laugh. I was lucky that I had a public profile that other prisoners were aware of. So a lot of them were in awe of me because most people in jail, and like me, just nobodies, you know what I mean? Just winging it. I mean, tried to do something beautiful, tried to be cool. I've like my second like childhood because all my teenage years and everything else in my 20s and my 30s and my 40s, they were all in prison. I mean, prison is 80% amazing and 20% absolutely rubbish. So, I mean, you meet good and bad inside, just like you do out here, except when I went to Parkhurst and most people there, they just wanted to have sex with me. I mean,
not great.
Yeah,
not great.
Yeah, because you've got like 80% of the people there, like in for raping women and children and stuff. I mean, I just kept my distance. I tried not to be too judgmental. I try not to let my feelings cloud my judgment, and just keep away from drugs. most of the violence in prison, it only comes around over drugs, people not paying debts, you know.
Gotcha.
You keep your head down, get yourself a little cleaning job so you can just mop the landing every day. Just lay on your bed, put your prison TV on, watch Tipping Point, watch The Simpsons. So I mean, and just watch the same rubbish and watch out here. But I was lucky because I had Anita. Do you know what I mean? I was loved.
Course.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
I had someone who loved me, someone who stuck by me, even though I'd been like publicly smeared. And she's absolutely gorgeous, and she's got so much patience with me.
Talk to us about that. Yeah, talk to us about that as well, like the sort of like support that you got from people on the outside as well, like Anita, you know, like some people sending you letters and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd loads of letters, lots of emails, not just from the UK but across the world, and from loads of like protest groups, especially down in London, Bristol, Dalston Superstore for their support. And the Lock-In in Cambridge, Anita was up there, and they did like a crowdfunder. Like I say, in Brighton and Bristol, all them beautiful queer community that we have. We're really lucky. I mean, we're the cool people. We don't wake up in the morning and go, how many lives can we destroy? Who can we publicly humiliate and degrade?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I wake up in the
Be
morning
an
and go,
awful
look,
life and
let's
awful
see if I can have
mindset.
a really lovely day today. And I do.
Yeah.
Gonna wake up and make the world a better place. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really doing my best, right? I mean, I've got a bit of a big mouth, and I don't listen when I should talk. Or is that no, I don't listen when I should shut up. Right? Do you know what I mean? And sometimes I'm a mass of contradictions. I'm going through a gender identity crisis every 5 minutes. But I love me. Do you know what I mean? But
That's the most
I love
important
myself,
bit.
not in that unhealthy, narcissistic way. Do you know what I mean? I've come to the terms with the fact that I'm not perfect. Yeah. Unfortunately, my imperfections like have been rammed down my throat with people with a lot more power than me. How does J.K. Rowling get an interview, right, with the friggin' with the Labour Party, just because she's got money? Yet they won't sit down and talk to me.
Yeah, they're not.
I mean, as having money gets you that kind of access to try and influence.
Absolutely, it's supposed to be the party for working class people, for ordinary people, and like Starmer's new government are just so much there for the ruling class and for the rich, aren't they? Like they even got the backing of the Sun in this election.
But people might argue that the Sun was the paper for the working classes.
Well, they'd be very misinformed then.
Yeah, because all the people it's only the working class people I know who read the Sun. All the middle class people that I know, they read the Daily Mail.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Daily Mail is huge with the middle class, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah. So I think that's a really sort of like valuable insight into like, you know, what you were saying about life inside and that. And I think that like it's one of those situations I think where we could talk about this that's happened to you in the way of like it was a state overreach, right? It was the state trying to say this is what happens if you go against like our little minions, because you'd probably agree, right? TERFs are like the minions of the state, really. It's like, you know, they're doing stuff that's helping the ruling class parties like Labour and the Tories get votes in it by sort of like creating this political football with transgender lives in it. And I think that like with that in mind, what do you think is the best way to combat that? What do you think is the best way to sort of like address that in terms of, I don't know, whenever I think about something like this, I think like, should we make a statement? Do you know what I mean? I organise with a tenants union, and if something happens that's quite big related to housing, I think like, oh, we should make a statement and make it public and just, you know what I mean? But what do you think? What are your thoughts? Oh,
You know, I'm absolutely speechless. This, I mean, the people who hate the trans community will always hate the trans community. That will never change. That will never change, right? So that's why I didn't really mean like anyone should like go like assaulting turfies, because that will just reinforce their views. Do you know what I mean? They don't care. They just hate. They've got nothing else but their hatred. Their kids probably hate them. I mean, you've got that. I'm gonna be kind. Graham Linehan, right? Graham Linehan, Mr. Father Ted, right? With his insidious racism and his insidious bigotry, right? Now he's got no friends, right? Nobody loves him. The only friends he's got, right, is these miserable faced old cows, right? All call themselves feminists. But these people who hate like the trans community, who consider themselves feminists, these are people who are also against abortion and against protesting for anything. So I mean, these they're not one-trick ponies. Do you know what I mean? I mean, trying to garner the support of people like Tommy Robinson, as much as I support Lennon Yaxley, or Yaxley Lennon, whatever his real name is. Do you know what I mean? I support his right for free speech. I mean, he's been to prison for words. I've been to prison for words, so I can't say that I'm better than him, except that I'm not a fascist.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
fair enough. There's what it kind of touches on what Mule was just saying about there's that, I mean, I think it's in Umberto Eco's kind of fascism thing about the fascist ideology kind of wants to make every little fascist feel like a hero, like they're the police, like they have the rights to kind of police other people, you know. And I think I see that so much in turf kind of ideology, you know, when it comes down to like policing bathrooms, policing women's sports, policing all this kind of stuff. And it's like
them turfettes, right?
Yeah.
Them turfs and turfettes out there, right? They just want to police women. They're probably the women who were like a classroom monitor or the bullies at school.
Yeah. Like they want to be deputized, like the what do they call them in The Handmaid's Tale? I can't remember what they call it. The aunts, yes, the aunts. You know, like to kind of be given like a new power within this this horrible system.
But like, I want to put it out there, right? That I still love Harry Potter books and I love Harry Potter films. Right, I still want to put that out. Right, one of my friends contacted me and said Harry Potter's on TV. If I'm your friend, can I watch it? I said, well, of course you can. Yeah. I says I can separate the art from their fascism. of Joanna Rowling or whatever she calls herself.
Wasn't the studio looking at buying the rights off of her as well? They were looking at you know, like literally they realized she was so toxic to the brand that they wanted to just completely separate, which it would be amazing if they did that. She
deserves it. But you know what? I suspect, right? Now I say this just for the record, right? I've heard the stories of how she was like abused by men, you know what I mean? But I'm not responsible for her pain.
Yeah.
The trans community is not responsible for her pain.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not even. But the thing is,
we're not responsible for that. But these turfy people, a lot of them got so much anger, and they don't want to lash out at the people who they feel is responsible for it. So I mean, because it's probably people close to home. So they go for people like me or Katie Montgomery or India Willoughby or Monroe Borgdorf. Do you know what I mean? And they just want to try and dehumanize us, and like, rather than just accepting we're just human beings getting on with our life. Like I say, I'm not trying to be no swimming champion.
I think there's also that element of people looking for, and especially I see this a lot with men that are TERFs or like sympathizers, or even just like the fascist kind of adjacent movements adjacent to TERF shit. But they're looking for a permissible target for misogyny, and I think trans misogyny gives a lot of these people an outlet, like I see this a lot in these like weird dudes, like Graham Linehan and all the others that kind of latch onto this stuff, and it's like this is just a way for them to hate women and
I saw Graham
still get pats on the back, right?
Yeah. I see Graham Linehan at a protest. I think it was University College London, and this these TERFs had commandeered like the building and were doing and were just slagging off trans people. And telling each other how amazing each other was. And the only man there was Graham Linehan. And he's saying to people, do you know that Baker was in prison for kidnapping and torturing and is evil and dangerous and shouldn't be on the streets? So I just went up to him. I said, if you really believe that I'm as dangerous as you say I am, I said, why would you get in my face? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just just to provoke me, then he can like have people film it and do you know what I mean? Just out of being absolutely mean. And I mean, what is he doing hanging about with all them women for? Because his own missus picked him out on put him on his backside and booted him out. He's trying to pull.
I think that
someone who's as miserable as he is.
I think there is something pretty interesting in like your experience with the actual police versus the TERFs who are trying to act as these like gender police. And like they clearly want like a higher standard for. I mean, firstly, they want like a protection of themselves as a protected class, right? Like the thing they wanted you recalled for was for threatening TERFs as a group of people. And they're a political group, like if I said we should all go punch people from EDL or whatever, it's just like that's not a protected class. What are you doing? But like they it's interesting. Like it's so clearly a push to try to have policing done differently and done how they want it, for them to create this pressure, and then the police around you who like were dealing with this like. They fabricated. They still ultimately worked for them. They still ultimately worked with them and did exactly what they wanted, even if they were in some cases, in some senses, kind of nicer than them, I guess.
I think that I can't remember who asked earlier is if there was conditions by the parole board or probation that I don't get involved in left-wing
Mule was saying that before, in
left-wing politics, but like just something that a lot of people don't know to me is that my heart's pure. It is. To me, my heart's pure. Do you know what I mean? I'm not out to feather my own nest. I'm not out to make money out of anybody like Kelly J. Keane selling a rubbish merchandise. And I think with J.K. Rowling, I think there's a bit of narcissism there, because after the Harry Potter franchise, I mean, she hasn't got pretty much nothing else to say, but she only has to slag off trannies, and she's on the frigging front page of the newspapers.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
It's all she's got.
She just wants to be relevant. I'm surprised she hasn't stood for a First Minister in Scotland yet.
It is it is interesting, that thing about like permissible misogyny, because like they're all in a group of people who know that they can't just like pick on any woman in the public eye and say she's fat, she's got a big chin, any of these things, right? But if they start saying these kinds of things about trans women, they all think they're being still within progressive, because they're saying, oh, actually they're not real women, so it's okay to say these things. But you see how much glee they take from it. Like it's their favorite thing.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
they got
there's-
nothing else. They got nothing else.
Yeah.
They got nothing else going on in their life. Do you know what I mean? Their
Yeah.
life is just. I think they're just really. I think they're really empty, and I feel sorry for a lot of them because, I mean, to be blunt, some of the turf women that I've seen around like some of these protests, some of them are just not the sharpest tool in the toolbox. You know, like Kelly J. Key will say something, and then they just buy into it, hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
They go to like J.K. Rowling and say to her, "Oh, you are iconic." So, I mean, no, more like ironic. I mean, you are an icon. You are a feminist icon. Is she nothing? Do you know what I mean, she's just a right-wing bigot. If it wasn't trans people, she'd be slagging off gay people. If it wasn't gay people, it'd be people with glasses or people with ginger hair.
She's definitely already said stuff about gay people, I think. I'm pretty sure.
She?
I can't remember like if I'm accurate on that. My other
Well, it's
host
just
might
that
be able
thing,
to
you know, like
confirm.
is that you know, the idea about people that enter, you know, these kind of whatever fascist strains, like positioning themselves as like, you know, like people that have felt like they were like done hard by the system or whatever like that, and then like kind of emulating their own, you know, like those kind of things onto other people, you know, like it's
I mean, I'm not saying that a lot of these turfy people are evil. I mean, J.K. Rowling, she's just a wally. That's all she is. She's just a wally, right? She ain't got nothing to say. She's got nothing to contribute, right? Her words are about as empty as the Cass report, right? I mean, I could have written the Cass report. Do you know what I mean? But like until I got a GCSE, even with my GCSE and A-level education, I can look at the Cass report and think, you know what, it's all it's all meaningless opinions.
Did you know, Sarah, that in that Cass report she quotes a YouTuber as scientific evidence?
Yeah.
You heard about that, innit?
She's a donut. So J.K. Rowling's a wally. You got Miss Cass. She's an absolute donut. And then you got Graham Linehan. He's just a hanger on. He's like them people, right? You know when you go out in the evening and like your brother goes, "Oh, can I come with you?" And you go, "No, I'm going out with my mates." And they go, "Go on, let me come." So, I mean, let me come because I ain't got no mates. That's Graham Linehan, that tosspot, right? Do you know what? Right? I used to lay in bed, right, in my prison cell, and I had GB News on my TV with them people slagging me off. I loved it. It meant
that must have been so surreal. Like it must have been so weird.
Yeah, everyone was banging their prison door like as if like Britain had just won. Anyway, what happened with the football? Did anyone? Is it game over yet?
Oh, it's 2-1 to Spain at the moment.
2-1 to Spain.
It's not coming home.
Yeah, I'm not going to stick up for England. You know what I mean? The Suella Braverman, who's the Home Secretary, put me in jail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know about the footballs coming home, but I came home. I got no guilty.
Yes.
Yeah. Put that in your pipe, J.K. Rowling and Suella Braverman, and you smoke that. Yeah, we're not scared of the Daleks or the Meep, and we definitely ain't scared of you fascists.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Buzzing. That's been. Oh, that's so
Hey,
good.
can I pass you back to Anita? Because
Anita's
got some she's got beautiful things to say.
100%. Yeah,
absolutely.
We've been together ages. Go, gorgeous.
I mean,
hi, Anita.
Hi, yeah, I know you guys, you're political people, are always thinking, what can we do? What can we do to make society better? And I guess, like, I don't know if you saw Kelly J. King's attempt at running for Parliament.
Lost the deposit.
Yeah, we found that very funny. We needed a smile. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, had to cancel some of her own events in what was supposed to be her own constituency because she had so little support, and she got. How many votes did she get? It was pathetic. It was like she didn't even get her deposit back.
What was her constituency? Do you know?
North Bristol.
Yeah, in Bristol.
North Bristol.
Something like that. Bristol, one of the queerest cities in the world.
Literally.
Yeah, and it was like, I guess I feel like I mean, I don't know how you find it. I find it quite hard to get a perspective sometimes, but it's like, even with like the crazy rabid government that we've had and the stuff they've been saying, it's like when you actually go and see these people trying to do their rallies like out in public, it's like we outnumber them. Like, I know that there's been instances where it's not been the case with like Tommy Robinson stuff in the past, but like Kelly J. Keane, people like that, it's like they're actually tiny, and it's like actually when the electorate like voted, like she got like nowhere, and it kind of amazes me with all the money and all of the media coverage and everything that is put in. I just don't think the vast majority of the population just don't think like that. And I know,
no, 100%, 100%.
You know, and I know I don't have that experience. You know, I'm a dyke, and I wish that all lesbians and gays and bisexual people stood up for trans people like they owe you for all of that help that trans people always gave us in our struggle, you know. But and I know I don't have the experience of walking down the street, and you only have to like encounter one miserable fucker of a day to like ruin your day, and there's too many of them out there. But yeah, but I guess I kind of feel like it's most of the people just don't think that way. I mean,
no, I think you're completely right.
Yeah,
I think you're completely right that it's not like public opinion hasn't moved. Like it's like public opinion has moved a little against trans people, but compared to like there have been sustained periods where there have been 1,000 news articles per month from like the mainstream press that are just wild, untrue fear-mongering. And like what you've seen is like some of the people who just didn't know, who would have answered a survey before, I don't know, I've never heard of trans people, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And now like a few of those are now like anti-trans. And the people who like trans people is a bigger proportion as well, because more people have gotten informed. And it's just like it just hasn't actually worked. Like it is just this like media manipulation. And it is the people who are obsessed, and they're just such a tiny fraction of the population.
And it seems to me like that, you know, trans people are just much more out of the closet than they were like when I was growing up, you know. And it's like more and more people know people that are trans, or they've got family members that are trans, and it's like, you know, more and more people are like, oh yeah, like why would I be horrible to them? Do you know what I mean? It's like so I don't know like what people can do or should do. I guess just like people just, I mean, I feel like the people that are standing up, you know, like yourselves and like Sarah and like everybody that's getting on a platform at Trans Pride and getting involved in protests, you know, things are not going to change overnight, but like when you look back at history and you look back at struggle, it's like when it's actually was the point in time where history is being made, things look shit for that group of people, you know. And it was those people that stood up that when it wasn't easy, when it was really, really freaking difficult. And that's what people do. People have to do it, to stand up and to kind of go, well, no, you know, we're gonna demand human rights. That trans people are part of like the human population, always has been. And you know, I don't know how long it's going to be so difficult, but I can't see you all getting back in the closet. So you know, people are going to have to get used to it at some point. And when people look back, it will be those people standing up that are the ones that have made history and made the world a better place, I guess. So,
yeah, Nita.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's so true.
I'm like a transgender Gandhi, but without the sex scandals.
all the nasty shit that Gandhi did. Yeah, exactly. No, it's interesting. Like you look at somewhere like Florida or Texas right now, and like a lot of like trans people who have the means to get out. I know several people who are trans who like had to move across the country to a different state in America. And it's like effectively what those bigoted administrations are doing is they can create like a little bubble where there aren't any trans people because it's not viable for trans people to like live there. But they just can't do, like, they can't stop the overall tide of just like trans acceptance in society. Like it just has already, it's not even like we can look at I don't know, landmark decisions of like gay marriage being legalized or whatever, but that only happened so recently compared to how long people, like the general public, has just been like, yeah, of course gay people should get married, of course, it's just normal. Like it's been accepted for such a longer time. And I feel largely like, in terms of public acceptance, like people accept trans people and it's just not an issue.
But one of the things that did surprise me is the amount of gay people that have come out against the trans community. When we've stood shoulder by shoulder with the gay community, to me,
very disappointing. Very disappointing.
Pretty much forever.
They're insecure about their gender identity.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
It's interesting. Yeah, we heard Anita there. There was
Anita's the brains behind this organization. How dare J.K. Rowling called me a misogynist?
Yeah. There's the thing though, like with a lot of people who feel like, a lot of gay people who feel like they've kind of got their seat at the table, and that like anything beyond very kind of like, like that kind of like a gay assimilationist kind of normal like thing is like, that's too far. They're like, this is a good spot for us. And
but
it's
you've
like,
got some first and second generation immigrants. Do you know what I mean? Who stand with Tommy Robinson, and stand with Nigel Garrard or whatever his name is.
Same thing.
Do you know what I mean? So, I mean,
it's like people are so easily conned into thinking that they get anything out of this. But I think it is, again, it's that bullying psychology. Like in school, you just have people who are like, you were saying about Graham Linehan being like a hanger-on. And it's just like when people are bullies, sometimes other people just want to be on their side and want to be like hanging out with them and like laughing with them, and like they think that it's powerful, and they don't necessarily like, they don't understand any kind of actual benefits they're going to get, and they're not going to get any. But it's just like with gay people who are like taking the side of transphobes, I think they just don't want to be on the other side of the bullying, right?
Yeah.
Kelly, no, I was going to say, like with Graham Linehan, you'd never choose him to be a groupie. He wants to be a groupie, doesn't he?
There's
it's like a groupie.
He's a big wet sack of a man.
Amazingist. I'd swear down it. I bet he's on the pool. I bet he thinks he can pull a turf.
I feel like that's the only people that wouldn't be just completely sick of him by now,
Like, I mean, some of them love him. Do you know what I mean? They think he's a somebody.
He's their guy,
But I used to like, before I became sophisticated with an education, I used to watch Father Ted and I used to enjoy it. Then when I became a bit more sophisticated, I mean, I went back and I watched it again, and I just a lot of it's just nasty. A lot of it's just nasty. Like,
it's really hard to find it funny in it when you go back and watch it, especially just knowing. And he's in it a lot, actually, isn't he? He's actually like plays some of the characters in that.
But I did like he did write, I mean, I'm not doing an advertisement for is it Motherland?
Oh, I don't know.
Was it Motherland that we watched? Yeah, I think he was one of the writers of Motherland. I mean I haven't seen no trans issues in the storylines.
That's because there's other writers involved, and they were like, "This is
probably
cringe."
Contractually obliged. They're like, "All right,
I might invite him to be one of my groupies." They
probably were like, we're only going to get him in on it if he's not allowed to.
He's just a hater.
He's definitely a hater. Definitely.
Yeah. But you know what? I mean, when I see him, he run away from me. Do you know what I mean? I didn't want him to run. I wanted him to stay there and just put up with my annoyingness.
I think a lot of those guys talk tough online, but would run away from the stiff breeze.
I think being trans is great. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not going to let bad experiences try and ruin that. I mean, a lot of the issues that I've faced on my travels, there's stuff that women have gone through anyway. Do you know what I mean? That I've gone through.
Of course,
I've had women who've come up to me and said to me, like, why on earth would you want to be a woman? To me, like, surely being born a male is like winning the lottery. To me, and I say well, that doesn't have anything to do with like my issue, like being a male or a female. It was just it was just organic. I just woke up. I just woke up one day, and I said, you know what? I said, all these feelings that I've had, I'm gonna have to get some proper help to deal with them. And if that means a public transition, well, that's what I'll do. I'll be strong. I'll risk losing my family. I'll risk losing friends. I mean, because it's definitely not easy, but it's you know, the hardest road to travel. I mean, that's the one where I don't know, you probably learn more about yourself.
Did you know other trans people when you were in prison and you were transitioning?
Yeah, I did.
Can you speak to that at all? Is that okay?
I'll talk about something, right? Because I don't want to be evasive, and I don't want to make out that everyone who's trans or identifies as a trans woman in prison is not mental, right? I'm not going to say that, because of the 140 plus transgender prisoners, openly transgender prisoners, at least 80 of them are in for like rapes and murders of women and children. And I don't understand why that is. Maybe there's like many reasons for that. But the way that the staff see it is that some of these people that are considered monsters within the prison system, that they're changing their identity so no one can find them. Do you know what I mean? And it's like they completely go off the record. It's like this is what the staff opinion is. I mean, you can be in prison for anything and still be trans.
Yeah, of course.
And that's like the long and short of it. People said to me, what trans people do I support in the prison system? I said, well, to be fair, you've got to support everyone or none.
Absolutely, you do.
Yeah.
100%.
How do I know what someone's struggle is or what their journey is? I have to try and, just as I want people to see past my criminal record and to see me as a human being who has the same like human rights that everybody else should have. You know what I mean? I have to see past these other people's criminal records, and not let my feelings cloud my judgment. Because otherwise, 100%. I'll just be really mean. I can be mean too. But,
what's you did some organizing of like transgender prisoner solidarity? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah.
Could you speak to that?
I don't know. People just either come up to me and ask me if I write something for like, say, like Pink News or Dazed. Then I managed to get my photo in Vogue. Yeah. You know what I mean, from Trans Pride, and I thought it was a good achievement. I do a lot of my art and that. Sorry, what was the question?
I read, but I now I can't remember where I saw, but it was that you had organized a trans prisoner solidarity network organization, something parallel
to the Prisoner Solidarity Network.
But did you had like organize something that was specifically for trans prisoners? Am I misremembering this?
We did loads of stuff. We did loads of stuff together. This is like this. For me, activism is like a full-time job, a full-time occupation. Hold on a second.
The Trans Prisoner Alliance.
To trans prisoners in prison.
Yeah. The transgender prisoners. Well, basically, all I can do is really is you're not allowed. I'm not allowed to have contact with prisoners at all.
Really?
But through the organisation, we made sure that we got money to people who needed like prosthetics. I mean, and jails where you could have female clothing and stuff, but you're not allowed to send much stuff into prison. There's not much stuff that you're allowed to send in because the prisons are worried that drugs are going to come in through it.
Right.
So if you want, I mean, in Parkhurst, one of the prisoners was wearing a maxi dress made out of prison curtains. I mean,
wow.
it was quite cute in a kind of like. So I mean, they were in for 16 child sex offences.
Jesus.
Do you know what I mean? And like when people looked at them, they think everybody's just the same. So I mean, they think it's just like weird. I mean, mine was the extreme violence. I can't get away from that. I mean, but I'm sorry, but I mean, the TERFs, they're never going to let me forget my history. Do you know what I mean? I'm just trying to build a future. I'm trying to do cool stuff, meet beautiful people, and if I can, be a voice for people who for many reasons they don't want to get behind a loud hailer. Do you know what I mean? They don't want to get behind. They don't want to get up on the big stage and just start hammering away at our enemies. I mean, I'm 55. I'm too old to care anymore what people think of me.
Buzzing.
Yeah. But all I do know is that my heart's pure. I don't want nobody to be hurt. Do you know what I mean? I want people to feel like the same kind of discomfort. Do you know what I mean? That the trans community have been going through and the gay community had to undergo. So I mean, my activism is from a position of discomfort. So I mean, it's from a position not of anger, not of fear, but like a kind of self-righteousness. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in me. I mean, I pay my taxes like anybody else. I'm a renter. Being trans doesn't give me any advantages at all, except it gives me the ability to interact with beautiful, wonderful, amazing people.
Yeah, I think you're doing an amazing job
and
of it.
And to be with Anita.
Hell yeah.
Anita. She's a nurse.
Amazing.
And she's an artist and a musician.
Beautiful.
She's amazing.
Well, we think you're both amazing.
And I love her like a million times. And she visited me every week in the Isle of Wight.
Is that where it was, the Isle of Wight? What did you call it?
From Wandsworth. I ended up in Parkhurst on the Isle of Wight.
That's in Isle of Wight, right.
We played Scrabble and chess every week.
That's dedication. I think you're both wonderful.
Yeah. As long as you got people to love you, you're gonna be all right.
Damn right.
That's how I see it. As it was that one about life being a shit sandwich. The most you can hope for is that with every bite, you get more bread and less shit.
That's right. You can't beat love.
It is, and there are good uns and bad uns within all communities. Doesn't matter whether it's the trans community, the gay community, or. But I mean, look at the bright side. I said when I went on trial, I said, well, at least I'm not a migrant as well. Man, and being trans and being a migrant.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Things can always be worse for sure. Which is why we've got to stand up for people like that, right? This is why we do what we do.
Stick up for queer Palestinians.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, you know it. Yeah, I think that's such an important way to sort of look at all of this, because it is like such a horrific onslaught into onto trans people. Like every single day, like you hear something new, like you say, all the TERFs, all the donuts, all the wallies, they just can't help it. But when you think of it in terms of like, well, actually there are so many people out there who are getting so much shit all the time. There's attacks on pretty much everyone of every kind of marginalized background. That's the solidarity that we can like hang on to, innit? Do you know what I mean? And that's what, like you say, gives us hope. That's what makes us do what we do as activists, to stand up for each other, and because it's the struggle is entirely linked. What Anita was saying before about like more cis queer people need to be standing up for trans people, innit? Do you know what I mean? Because it's all we're all connected. Like the queer community is all like literally like that.
I'm not connected to J.K. Rowling.
Innit? Exactly.
Yeah. No, very few people have an imaginary.
I must confess, like Kelly J. Kit. No, Graham Linehan is my secret crush. Make sure you put that out in the media.
We'll put that. We'll have a just a clip of you just saying that, and we'll just put that out.
Graham Linehan is my secret crush. The more you hate me, the more I'm gonna love you, babes.
Hell yeah. So yeah, I think that in terms of like your entire experience, I think the thing that comes to my mind the most is like just how resilient you've been with all of it, and it's really inspiring. Like, how do you feel? Do people say that to you often? Do people like tell you that it's really inspiring what you've been through, and how does that make you feel like?
Well, I don't know if I should be embarrassed. I get people call me an icon and a superstar.
I reckon you are.
I'm like me. I said all I am is a big mouth, like an annoyance. And people have come up to me and gone, look, people have said like that they would never have survived or they would have killed themselves. But like they see me and listen to how I speak and said, look, Dickon, you're gonna be all right. Do you know what I mean? It's gonna be, we're gonna be all right. We're going to survive. Do you know what I mean? We're gonna be all right. And just telling people just to like, you got to keep a check on your mental health because it's you can overthink stuff, you know. I mean, transitioning is supposed to be about making your quality of life better. Do you know what I mean? And if it's not making your life better, well, maybe you shouldn't transition. But if you do, you got to be tough. You got to be tough. You got to be strong. You got to be able to look people in the eye and go, I demand the right to exist in any way, shape or form that I choose, as long as I'm not hurting nobody. And if you're not happy with that, jog on and leave the country. Go and move with J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, go live in a castle with J.K. Rowling in Scotland.
Yeah. Go and live up in an empty castle.
Yeah.
Free Palestine.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, of course.
Just want to track that in for good measure.
Yeah, defo. So yeah, I guess like we're sort of coming like to, you know, the bit before we ask questions from the audience, and just before we get to that bit, I guess like is there anything that you want to like make sure that people out here know? You know, anyone who's listening to the show, you know, you've already told us so much, and I'm sure that you could tell us you could probably do another hour on the show, probably.
Yeah.
But like, what do you think would be like the most important that you wanted to say, like, thing to our audience before we get into, you know, the last sort of bit of the show?
I don't know what to say. Just be yourself and just try and be happy, right? Don't think, try not to focus on what could happen to you. Do you know what I mean? Try and put aside all the stuff that has happened to you and just try and live this moment in time. You're never going to get it again. Try and live it with a smile on your face, or at least putting two fingers up to your enemies. So I mean, be strong to try and work on stuff like resilience. I mean, try and work on one's resilience and try and work on like your inner core, your inner spiritual core, and try and give yourself a bit of self-love and a bit of self-worth. I mean, and to say to people, look, no one has an advantage over anybody in emotional issues. You know what I mean? The way you respond, the way you treat yourself, the way you treat others. That's all down to us. So I'm going to try and be a bit more gentle to people, even the people who hate me. I'm going to be like a rubbish Jesus. Like, right? I'm not going to try and heal the sick, because I don't think that's going to work with the TERFs. There won't be no laying on and no hands. But I just say to people, just work on your mental health, like seriously. Do you know what I mean? If you feel bad, do you know what I mean? Try and go and get some help. Do you know what I mean? I'm in counselling, and I'm mental. I am. I've got proper issues, but I don't try and swerve them. And And I would encourage other people who've got, whether it's ADHD, emotionally unstable personality disorder, or borderline personality disorder, or even if they haven't got many friends around them. Work on yourself. Don't trauma dump on people, because a lot of people can't stand that at all. It's not the way to win friends and influence people. You understand what I'm saying?
Learned that the hard way.
Yeah. Every time you see someone, you're like, how you doing, mate? And then they tell you about all their childhood abuse and stuff, and just burn your brain out. And say, look, I'm not trying to be unsympathetic, but we've all got our horror stories. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And you say, look, just try and put a big smile on your face. Do you know what I mean? Or even if you don't feel like smiling, fake it till you make it.
Hell
I mean, and just try and do beautiful things. Surround yourself with beautiful things. I've got a beautiful home, even though we're renting and I've got an eviction order. I'm still going to enjoy every day that I'm here before I hit the curb.
Yeah,
definitely.
And I'll get my way out of it. Do you know what I mean? I'll figure my way. Like I say, I've got amazing probation officer. Do you know what I mean? And my psychotherapist is amazing. So I'm lucky. I'm luckier than most people. I'll just say to people, a lot of people in the trans community and the queer community, struggling with mental health issues, that they should actually go out and try and get some kind of help or support from their community, like to deal with any mental health issues they have, because we do more damage to ourselves than the TERFs do. With just our imagination, thinking
That's
about
the fucking truth, Sarah.
catastrophizing.
Yeah,
most of my life, I've had a few beatings and stuff, but like, I can't undo that. All I can say is, like, I'm a strong person, and I'll take. The worst thing that happened to me since I got out of prison is that a bus driver confiscated my identification, calling it fake.
Oh, that's horrible.
They said, this is a woman's ID and you are a man, and they threw me off the bus.
What a fucker.
Yeah, that was about 2 years ago, Nico, was it? Yeah, then I'd... yeah.
Well, I had a question about, because we've been talking a little bit about, like, experience in the prison system as a trans woman. But I'm kind of, I don't know if you're, like, if you've encountered people in the trans community who don't want to show support for prisoners, like people who are wary of, like, they want to have solidarity with all of the trans people, but then they're like, but those trans people did a bad thing. They're like, and then they, because I've had some conversations with some people when I've been trying to talk about, like, prisoner solidarity, and they don't extend their like, with some people who don't extend their kind of sympathy or solidarity to trans people in prison. Do you have thoughts for like what those people think, or like what you'd say to that?
What I would say to the Prisoner Solidarity Network?
No, to people to other trans people who don't support trans people in prison and who are wary of trans people who have been convicted of something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you're in prison, everybody's going to know why you're in jail. But if you're in prison for like raping 16 children, and then you're walking down the prison landing in a maxi dress made of prison curtains, and or you're walking around with a mini skirt so short that staff come up to me and ask me to go and talk to them prisons and tell them to please put their testicles away, because people could see them when they walk up the stairs. A lot of people that I personally know, I consider them to be transvestites rather than like transgender, and they're allowed to have transvestites too, the same as trans women are allowed access to female clothing. So if for some people that and now, because it's the prison that's doing it, the prison's not saying, oh, this person's a transvestite and this person's transgender. Well, they just put everybody like under the transgender label, even people who, for them, it's a fetish. That's my opinion. So, I mean, I could be completely wrong, but like I say, out of 140 prisoners, and you've got like over 80 in for like raping women and children. I mean, Some people ain't going to support them. Me, I just try to treat everybody the same. As difficult that is, I mean, we've all got opinions about people around us, even people close to us. I just try not to share like any negativity, and just try and be a positive person, and just try and tell everybody, well, you've did what you did. You're in prison. What you've done is between you, God, and your victim and your judge. You know, that's not my business. You could still be I guess you could still be a serial killer and still be trans, can't you? I mean, your past is irrelevant. It's like what journey we're on. I mean, but it's not for me to know what's going on inside your head or anyone else's. I just try and be as. Yeah, I'm not saying about punching people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm not like that in prison. I don't encourage people to punch people.
Yeah.
I mean, not even turfs.
We've got a few questions from the chat, and I think maybe we should move on to those now.
Yeah, go for it.
So Wintry Mute asked, what would you say to young trans activists facing jail time for their activism? You know, if there's a trans person who's getting arrested because they're doing a Just Stop Oil action or whatever,
yeah,
and they're worried about going to jail because of it, what would you say to them?
I'd say do it. If you have to go to jail, do it, and do it with a smile on your face. If you're doing something and you know there's a risk, do it with your eyes wide open. When people joined like Extinction Rebellion, one of the things is that we want to go to prison for it. Do you know what I mean? We don't care. We're not going to be afraid of going to prison for saying that we truly believe in. I mean, and if you're going to if you're risking going to jail when you still do it, I mean, no one likes a whinger, no one likes a whiner. People like strong people. Be strong. If you get into activism and you go to jail, see it as a badge of honor. See it that you're obviously doing something right that the state just cannot stand. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, that rocks.
Yeah. For my friends in Extinction Rebellion, get all cars off the road except mine. If you do what the system considers a crime, and you did it with your eyes wide open, when you go to jail, stand up. I mean, hold your chin up and just be proud.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that rocks.
Right, well, so
there's not enough activists in prison. We need more.
We got another one here from Husker Du saying, maybe I missed this earlier, but is there a place our community can buy your books from other than Amazon that maybe helps you out more?
Nah, steal them, shoplift them, rob them, steal them. I don't know what bookshops have got them in there. Yeah, you can buy them at there. I don't know where they are. I only wrote them. My publisher deals with all that stuff. But,
right.
I mean, if people, I'm easy to find. Sarah Jane Baker for MP on Instagram. If they send me a text and they're not horrible, when I'm in the area, I might drop them off a book.
Oh, that's nice.
I'll give some books out for free. I still have to buy the books from my publisher that I give away.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So we got another one here from Wintry Mute. What would you say to people who criticize you representing the trans community because of your past?
That's a really good question, and I suspected it might come up. Am I the best? Am I the best representative? Right? Am I one of the best representatives? Right? To stick up for trans people? Yeah, of course I am, because we're everywhere. We're not just middle class. We're everywhere. We're in every society. We're in every class, upper class, middle class, and the underclass, and the prison class, and the criminal classes. We are everywhere. So I mean, why shouldn't I stick up for myself? That's my right.
Yeah.
Damn right.
Why shouldn't I stand up and shoot my mouth off and say, you know what? I mean, maybe I should go to like Hyde Park Corner, but like I think Kelly J. Keen's squatting it. Right? No, I've got as much right to say my put my my tuppence in. I mean, put my sixpence in or whatever. So I mean, what? I mean, I understand the question though, because when people see me and go, yeah, they did this and they did that and they did this and they did that, I say, yeah, but that's still not going to change the fact that I'm still standing up there.
Yeah.
And say my bit. Oh, sorry. We'll go. So I've got to plug my charger lead in.
Oh, no worries. Take your time. Take your time.
We're doing fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I don't know. Maybe I'm a really bad representative, like, of the trans community, but I'm there. I'm here, and I'm queer, and I'm not going to live in fear. I'm going to get up there and just annoy people.
Hell yeah.
And people can say what they want, but I can still get J.K. Rowling slagging me off. Do you know what I mean? So all the attention that I wanted, do you know what I mean, from all my worst critics, I got it. So I mean, I can't complain about it. So I mean, I wanted to be a firebrand. I think that's what someone had called me. I wanted to be someone who says, yeah, they're getting up and they're saying this. So I mean, I want to, because it's hard work and it's expensive being an activist.
Yeah.
I want to see some results. I want to see some results from my activism in my own lifetime.
Hell
even if it's just people slagging me off. So I mean, because when I'm laying in bed at night, so I mean, I'm not thinking about TERFs. I'm thinking about what's on telly or what I'm going to have for dinner. So I mean, that's all I'm thinking about. Where they're probably just laying in bed, like pulling their own hair out, probably self-harming. So I mean, some of them, I think a lot of them people like Kelly J. King and J.K. Rowling, they're just exploiting people who've got mental health issues.
Oh yeah.
Half of them people probably are not even TERFs. They're just angry at the whole world.
They've been given a target.
And going to a protest, it's the opportunity for them to get out of the house, isn't it?
I think there is a lot to be said about the community that people find in these groups, right? Like a lot of these people that get stuck into these groups are really sad and lonely, people that feel alienated from their peers, and then they get into these groups, and then by doing things, whether it's posting their shitty memes or whatever, they're getting feedback from the others, and they're building these communities. And some of them actually like that could be the closest they've ever felt to other people, like
or to other
their found
human
family,
or feeling that their life has some purpose, where if all their issues is like if they feel like trans people are responsible for all their issues, well, obviously they're just bloody bonkers.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's
and they don't dress well. They don't.
It's true.
They don't dress well. They're not attractive people. Not just not in just the way they dress, but the way they speak. They're not very attractive. They're not attractive people.
Yeah.
They come across as being cruel and spiteful and unkind. Absolutely.
That's the thing that makes someone attractive, right? That's the thing. It's literally just manifests in it. Do you know what I mean?
Opposites attract. I'm going to end up with J.K. Rowling. Yeah, me and J.K. and we'll have Graham Linehan as a groupie. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Well,
make
it's
Scotland trans again.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Sarah, it's been so good to have you on, and I'm sure we'd be happy to shout you out in the future and potentially get you back on. Because obviously you got so much stuff to say. But thanks so much for coming on. Is there anything that you wanted to? Any last bits that you want to plug? Oh, cheers!
I used to have one of those.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's really sweet. Nice one.
And gorgeous, wonderful people.
Not as gorgeous as you, but we're trying.
Oh no, I'm not as half as gorgeous as Anita.
That's right.
Oh,
We're in here. We're in here sitting on our four-poster bed,
Men.
not thinking about turfs.
Yeah. So just before we end the show, what are tell us about your books again? What are they called?
They're called Transgender Behind Prison Walls, Life Imprisonment, an Unofficial Guide. That's under my dead name, Alan Baker, the life sentence one. And then I did. Anita had a lot of my published poems, my poems published. Yeah, and had a little book made up for me. Yeah, if people just Google me and then and just put on like purchases or something, it'll come up. I'll just put Sarah Jane Baker books and stuff will come up.
Yeah,
perfect.
So I mean, and if you can't afford any, listen, I'm easy to find through social media. Send me a message and I'll bring you a book.
Buzzing. There you have it, folks.
Yeah.
And it's Sarah Jane Baker for MP on Instagram, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't think I'm going to be an MP now. I don't think J.K. Rowling will allow that.
Well, yeah, what an absolute pleasure and a privilege. Thank you so much for joining us.
Do you want to say goodnight to Anita?
Yeah, good night, Anita.
It's
great to see you again.
And you.
We're the beautiful people.
Hell yeah. All right, all the best. Thanks so much for coming on.
Okay, then.
See ya.
Bye. And let's turn it off.
Oh, there you go.
Amazing.
Right, brilliant. Yeah, that's easily the most I've laughed on a Red Planet episode, and that's quite possibly like.
Oh, she's just a ray of sunshine, isn't she?
Literally, like just Wally Donut. Yeah, perfect. That's just the best thing to call Graham Linehan or any turf, just like a plum or a donut or a Wally. This is the time of the show where we remind everyone that we are a show. And we need you. We need your support. We have definitely got a lot of different stuff too, in terms of options that you can support us with. I'm not stalling. Maybe one of my co-hosts has got the Patreon page up first.
Well, the thing about the Patreon is that we no longer actually talk through all of the different tiers.
Oh God,
but you
you're
can
right.
support us
you're right.
At different tiers, there are different tiers, and you can go read about them yourself at patreon.com/red_planet. And that's just fine. You don't have to, but you can, and then you could decide to support us for up to infinity amount of money, because there's literally no limit. You could select the highest tier and then just put in a bigger number anyway. You're allowed to do that, but there's various little rewards. And we'll let you know about bonus content and watch parties and stuff like that as they're coming up.
We might force Tim to watch Deep Space Nine, or maybe not force him to watch it. Maybe force him to learn about it from us and then discuss it with us.
Us explaining the whole entire plot of it to him.
Give me a PowerPoint demonstration. I've only seen like the 2 episodes that we watched on another Red Planet stream, so there's a lot to learn.
But if you did support us at the highest tier, no matter how much more than the highest tier amount you pledged, you would get the same reward, which would be a special shout out and thank you on every single episode, and that would look like this. To our sickos, which is the name of our highest tier, our sickos, JBP, Queen Pib, Cassie Tastrophe, and Risk Inverse. Thank you so much for making the show possible. Our sickos, thank you. You're literally my best friends.
Thank you.
Figuratively, in Minecraft.
Sophie.
But yes, Mule.
Where can people find out more about you?
Yeah, they can go to linktree.ee/Sophie from Mars, and all my links are there. I have a YouTube channel. I am about to come back from my hiatus and publish some new stuff there. I've nearly finished my next essay. It's called The Mad and the Mentally Ill, and it's about the mad and the mentally ill.
What?
No way.
It's about the liberal identity class of mental illness and the Foucauldian social class of the mad, and I hope people like it. And I'm gonna start beef with a mental health YouTuber. I'm not really gonna. I watched an interesting video from a guy who's a mental health professional and a YouTuber, and he had some interesting things to say about something in the diagnostic model, and I'm talking about the diagnostic model, so I've decided to to talk about it.
We all love the diagnostic model. It's so cool and good.
I've wound off the point, so let's wind back onto it. Linktree.ee/Sophie from Mars is where you can find all my links. You can find the links to support me there. My Patreon is how you could support me monthly and make it so I'm not relying on my friends to afford food and my bills. That would be really nice. Things have been rough recently, and you can get access to when my essays are finished, when my videos are done. They'll be up early on my Patreon, so you can go there, give me $2 or more than $2 to see early videos. And if you just had some spare cash kicking around, you wanted to tip me directly, you can also do that through Linktree. I think all my socials are on there too. So the only thing left for me to say really is Tim, where can people find more about you online?
Well, you can find me here and on Twitch as Conquest of Dread, or you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky as Dread Conquest, or you can check out my tabletop RPG that is on the verge of being published, called Dark RPG. Go over to Twitter at DarkRPG2000 to find out more about that. But what if we want to find out more about Mule? Where can we go digging?
You could go digging in linktree.ee/DJMUEL. And let me apologize in advance if you can hear the England supporters as I'm doing this plug, because they were just football guys outside my house, and they're singing about how it didn't come home. Anyway, linktree.ee/DJ Mule, that's DJMUEL. Yeah, I'm still doing stuff, but I'm also doing loads of other stuff. And so the stuff that I want to do is taking longer than normal, but it is happening. That's the lowdown on that, really. But it's very exciting. My next video is going to be about Kevin McDonald. I don't think that's a secret. I think I might have told people, or maybe I didn't. I don't know. I can't remember. He's a stinky little goblin man, and he's basically like a landlord influencer that is absolutely disgusting. And just various things about him that you'll learn when you watch my video on YouTube, which will be on youtube.com, and just search for DJ Mule, DJMUEL. And also, you can really support me by supporting Sophie. If you give Sophie money, that's supporting me as well, because me and Sophie are comrades. That's how it works. Actually, if you give Sophie money, that means that me and Tim have got money. Everyone's got money. Actually, just by giving Sophie money, it means that you've given everyone money. So that's the best that you could be. And that's the end of that and the show.
Whoa! See you next week, everyone.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.